All right. About to get started. Almost there. Almost there. I'm gonna pop that chat out so I can see it. Good times. Let's do it. Where is this? Come on now. All right. Excellent. Now, where's my restream chat? There it is. Okay. Oh, it's so much. I can't, it's just a lot. There's a lot going on today. Hello, welcome to House Sparks Megaworldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Hi, chat room. Hello, how are you? I'm back out in space today. I'm out of the bunker, and I'm back out in space because quite frankly, I think it's safer out here, far away from you panicky humans. That's right. That's no asteroid. That's no moon. This is a moon. Oh, sorry, you can't do that, or I will lose my partner status on Twitch. No, I won't. It's so funny that you literally, you could lose your channel on here. Was scheduled live. Oh, good. Okay, so Substack is running, and it dropped out, and it started again. It says it's streaming to it. Everything poof gone. What the heck? I don't know. It's very strange. I'll fix it for her. But Substack and Instagram, the thing I use to stream to it, are acting weird. I'm going to have to figure out some sort of workaround or whatever. But welcome. Hi. I'll tell you what. I'm going to record, because that's how we do it. Welcome to the show. I'm going to record today's live stream vertically on the other thing, and then I can post it as its own thing. Lickety-split later on. Now, lots of stuff to cover today. The Vote-O-Rama is going on. There seems to be a lot of confusion about what the Vote-O-Rama is besides stupid sounding. And the Vote-O-Rama is the process by which it gets to a final vote right now. That they have to, because of how they're doing this through reconciliation, there's effectively an endless number of amendments that Democrats and other people can put forward. And the endless does have a procedural end. It says endless, but it's not quite endless. They have to be germane to the thing to be worth the vote and stuff. Otherwise, you could have a vote on, I would like to propose a vote on the floor that the number one is indeed the number one, and it shall be used as number one and not as number two, especially when going to a truck stop bathroom. And then we go, all in favor of one, remaining one, aye. Okay. And opposed? All right. Now, I would like to propose that number two remain number two. And as far as mathematics are counting, unless you have four of something and you want to say you have a couple, in which case a couple will not be a thruple and a two will be a couple and a thruple will be three, except when one of the other people is not current or is in the hospital. You will revert to couple status. The yays have it. Right, you could just blah, blah, blah your way through it. And that would stop anything. So there has to be a limit on, as far as it being germane to stuff. That very same rule is kind of the same thing that allows the Senate parliamentarian to strip stuff out that cannot be done with reciprocity, that it has to be done through a majority vote, through 60 votes or more. And so if you strip her out, or the person who's the parliamentarian out, you also strip out the person who makes the endless amendments germane, and then it opens up to endless, like you could just go forever. So Trump can't get rid of that person without getting rid of the thing that will make the thing move forward. I hope that explains it. Yada, 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 yada. Yeah, it's a little stupid. Hold on. Let me see if I can find a live vote. Yeah, here we go. Senate votes on the amendments. This is, get ready to be excited. Man, there it is. Bow chicka wow wow, wacka 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 bow chicka wow wow. There it is. That's the excitement, ladies and gentlemen, of the floor of the Senate as things are happening. Isn't this what you thought a vote-o-rama would look like? Now, in all these situations, people will come to the floor and offer their amendments, and then everybody has to come back in for the amendment. Not everybody's there. This is one of the ways they try to, what the Republicans will try to do is slow down what the Democrats are trying to do, and the Democrats are trying to gum up the works as much as they can. That's what's going on right now. That's it. Until such time as they reach the end of the proposed amendments or the amendments to the amendments. There's Warner walking down there. They're in the middle. So here come people in for their votes, I guess, after the parliamentarian said that, dropping a deuce is in violation of the House rules, so everybody can go take a shit. And then they'll go through and they'll have a vote, and then on one of the amendments or the presentation of amendment, and then the introduction of it, and then they'll get time to read it, and then there's all kinds of things they can throw into it. Some people can vote, I think, to not have to read the fucking thing, it's a lot. So hopefully the Democrats can just drag this on as long as possible. Because in the meantime, you're seeing stuff like this. Remember this dude is Buffalo Chip Roy? The Senate is making the bill worse as we speak. Now, he's not the only person who believes this. Elon Musk just posted a little bit ago calling it the Porky Pig bill because of, I think, some reference to pork being in this thing. By the way, we're doing a super chat goal if you're in YouTube. If you want an AMA, this is one way to do it. So that's happening. Also, if you're on Twitch, bits and what have you. All right, now, I'm trying to be a professional about this, and I always forget. So let's do this. All right, so this is Chip Roy bitching about the fact that they're taking some of his favorite cruel parts out of the bill and replace it with their favorite cruel parts, and it's being cruel to all the right people in all the wrong ways or something.
People watching this home, they don't know what's going on. They're going about...
Right. They don't know what's going on because you guys are in charge and you have no idea. Chaos and destruction don't really have a structure. Oops, hold on. Yeah.
Their lives. They're just, all they know is that there's a big bill, there's some tax stuff in it, there's some spending stuff in it, some border stuff, and that's about all they know.
Also, first of all, no, some of us know a lot more about what's in it, quite frankly. I think you're talking about your constituents who are as ignorant about it as you are. Leave the rest of us out of it.
So why am I here?
We've been asking that since you were elected.
Because the House passed that bill, imperfect, but I will call passable.
Technically, by one vote.
Definition. We sent it to the Senate. The Senate is making the bill worse as we speak.
Oh, by the way, real quick, I don't want anybody be confused about this. They're not making it worse by, say, causing more damage to America or I don't know, kicking people off Medicaid and all that kind of stuff. They're making it worse because they're making it harder to pass. They're not making it worse by doing more terrible things. That's not his complaint. Just to clarify. He's not going, oh dear, we meant to do this much damage. They're doing more damage. No. Oh, no. This is very specific. He is saying that these folks in the Senate are making it harder to pass in the House.
The Senate is making decisions, both policy decisions.
By the way, he sounds sick or like he's been screaming. And either one, I guess. I don't wish illness on anybody, but if he's got a sore throat from screaming at people who are screaming at him, okay.
And what's called going through a process over there to see if it's language that's supposed to be in a budget related reconciliation package. We call it a bird process.
We don't call it a bird process. They call it the bird rule. It's not a bird process. We're not sending it through the digestive tract of a duck to see if it's a witch.
Pulling pieces out of it. The bill is getting worse.
Worse for who? Oh, by worse you mean worse at having a worse chance of getting passed.
Now let me see if I can put it in basic terms.
In deference to maggots.
This chart's not going to mean much to most people back home. You don't even need to look at all the bars. It gets kind of complex.
It should be complex. It should be complex. There should be complexity involved in this. If you're afraid of complexity, you're intellectually inadequate for the task at hand of governance of a country that's as rich and as big and as powerful as the United States of America. If you want things simple and down home, fuck off.
But I just want it to be real simple.
Real simple. He's slowly but surely turning into an old Western movie sidekick right before our eyes. I want to be real simple about this.
This orange line on this chart, and people in the gallery, you can't see it, but imagine an orange line on a XY graph.
Which line would that orange line be? Is it on the x-axis or the y-axis? Nah, I'm sorry. Go on, you're stupid.
That orange line says that under the House bill, on a dynamic basis, what does that mean? That accounting for economic growth, accounting for the tax policies, accounting for what we believe will happen.
Yes, dynamic belief.
We would have about additional $72 billion of deficit spending over 10 years. Sadly, $72 billion is kind of a rounding error when you're talking about 10 years. In other words, it's close to break even. We would cut taxes, we would reduce spending, we would get economic growth, and we believe we would add nothing more to the deficit.
Believe is doing a lot of heavy lifting, asshole.
Now, here's the problem.
We also believe that a 2,000-year-old monarchical deity figure is going to come back to Earth, land somewhere outside of Israel, round up the Jews, kill them all for doubting him, and then sit on a throne as his army wipes out Satan's minions. Literally. Soon. So, I'm kidding. They don't believe that. They just pretend to believe that, which is even worse.
Adding nothing more to the deficit means we still have deficits. We still have $1.8 trillion to $2 trillion a year in deficits. So I voted for a bill.
That's terrible.
That will perpetuate $1.8 trillion deficits.
Yes, because you're an asshole. And all that fiscal conservative shit you were throwing around was just bullshit.
That was just bullshit, Joel.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated doing it.
Well, you did it anyways. Why? Because you're a suck-up, dummy.
But I did it because in this process, in this political environment, to get the reforms that we were getting to Medicaid, to get the reforms that we were getting to terminate 60% of the Green New Scam subsidies, undermining
reforms,
our grid, to get the tax cut extensions for hardworking Americans. To me, it was worth doing that when I thought credibly,
Also, real quick, not that office work isn't challenging, difficult work, but I feel like if you say hardworking Americans, your tax cut should only apply to people who do manual labor. I'm not saying that it isn't hard sometimes going to an office job, but it's a different kind of hard. It's a mental and emotional challenge. I suppose sitting is bad on your lower back, but there's a distinct difference between that being a coal miner or something like that. But I love how these guys, because you need to understand, this asshole, when he says hardworking Americans, he means him. in Congress with this chart, talking to his staff, meeting with people. He thinks that's the same as somebody who fucking flips burgers. Just want to be real clear about that. When he says hardworking Americans, he doesn't mean people who work hard jobs, doing hard labor and long hours. He means him. I have to wear a suit to work. That's hard. That's what he means.
Conceivably, we would not be adding to the deficit and get those important reforms. But here we are. The Senate, in its infinite wisdom over in the House of Lords,
why don't you just go yell? Maybe it was him yelling "fuck you" in the chamber. Did anybody see the person who was yelling, "You are awful. You guys are." Everybody assumed it was a regular, like protester. I'm fairly certain it was Chip Roy. That's why his throat's all fucked up.
they are embarking on focusing on what we would have anticipated they would focus on, which is just the tax cut side for the most part. They're backing away from the spending cuts, the spending restraint. They're backing away from the reforms that we think makes the math work.
We think makes the math work. Still has $1.8 trillion deficits every fucking year. But math, we think, all right, just to be clear, lest anybody think that any of these dickheads are actual fiscal conservatives.
And therein lies the problem. You want to know why we're $37 trillion in debt as a nation? It's
because Donald Trump added a third of that debt during his first four-year term and wants to add more of it this time.
Because too often, my Republican colleagues have never met a tax cut they didn't want to advance, while then campaigning on balancing the budget and cutting spending that they never want to vote for.
Okay, so it seems real clear to me and everybody else, fuck the tax cut. Go back to the tax rate that was on in 2018, right? It clearly the country wasn't grinding to a fucking halt. It wasn't destroying business or the future of everyone. And if you can't do it, don't.
We can't do that. We have to actually lead. In a Republican form of government, there are 435 of us, representing 30-something million Americans. I represent about 750,000 people.
750,000 people. Yeah.
In a Republican form of government, I'm supposed to take the hard votes. I'm supposed to go back to my constituents and say, well, we're doing
tough shit.
This and this and this. We think it's good. I know you wanted this, but we can't have that. Because
right. You don't sound like a representative from your district. You sound like a parent, which isn't your job either. In all honesty, your job, and as ironically enough, is to go to Washington, run up deficit spending, bullshit the people that got you into office because that's what they voted for. If they voted for Chip Roy to represent them, what they're asking for is not a balanced budget, not that you to carry out what they said and you said you would do. They want you to lie to them. They want you to pretend it'll be easy. They want you to blame Democrats. So shut the fuck up and get at it.
Because we're $37 trillion in debt. I go back to this chart.
No.
There's a big yellow bar over here with flames on top.
Anybody in the gallery, you're going to have to take his word for it.
It shows almost $1 trillion of additional deficit that the Senate bill would add if the policies they are currently debating in the Senate are adhered to. Meaning
that whatever the Senate passes, he can't vote for it. And he's not alone.
They got rid of a lot of our savings.
Yes, that's what they did.
And they made certain tax cuts more permanent.
More permanent. They were semi-permanent, and now they're more permanent.
They extended them.
Maybe your problem is you're so fucking stupid. You think there's something more permanent than permanent. Pause right there. And if you would, Chip Roy, why don't you explain to maggots how the permanent, making Trump's tax cuts permanent is actually just making the business ones permanent and cutting the personal ones that are for, middle class and lower, because they're being lied to, because you guys lied to them. Because Trump, why don't you tell them that? Why don't you tell them that there are permanent tax cuts for businesses and the ones that are for them are temporary, and say it, that you're going to have to redo them again in a couple of years, both to keep them on the hook, but also because you're faking the budget so that all the costs show up in the back 5 of the 10-year cycle.
I support making those tax cuts permanent and extending them, but not without the spending reductions necessary to get us back to deficit neutrality or deficit savings.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't. Doesn't work that way. No. Sorry. Asshole. Okay, hold on one second. I want to try something. Maybe you can do it this way. Let's see. No. Okay, I see. Gotcha. All right, this next, I want to show you guys this because Trump was on Maria Bartiromo selling the big bill, and I think this is from Sunday Morning Futures. I'm fairly certain, CSL, Andrea, we're all good. You guys can see everything. Everything's fine. The last thing I see is Andrea saying, nope, nada. And I'm like, oh, dear. This is Trump on Maria. Hello. If the lady complaining, why that's Maria Bartiromo. And he's selling the big bill and some bullshit. I have not watched any of this. God help us all. You're watching House Sparks, Megaworldwide, the greatest live stream in the history of live streams. I'm House Sparks. Here we go.
Anybody has ever seen, from striking Iran to going to NATO
Hold on. Back up. What are we seeing the last of the bit? There we go.
Mr. President, you were just coming off of one of the most consequential weeks anybody has ever seen, from striking Iran to going to NATO to announcing 2 deals, and then...
Hey, moron, did you do realize we were in Iraq and Afghanistan for like 20 fucking years? 9/11, anything? Like the 2008 crash? No, he's been flying around doing petty shit. None of it's hard work. He's making it harder.
This Supreme Court victory, have you been able to digest what has occurred in the last 7 days?
No.
Not really. It was pretty wild period of time, and I really think in 6 months we've taken the country and turned it around. It's
Yes, we were headed in the direction of lower unemployment and increasing wages and safety and security and better environmental policy, and you've turned that around 180 degrees.
I was told by the King of Saudi Arabia. But
oh, right, that you were ice cold and now we're the hottest country in the world. And by the way, fuck any monarch in the world. Fuck them. I don't care. I live in a democracy. I don't give a shit. Stop talking about magic families as if they're a real thing.
by the leader of Qatar and the leader of UAE, when we went over there, we brought back $5.1 trillion investment into the United States. They said, you know, you're presiding now over the hottest country in the world. And a year ago, we thought your country was dead. It could never come back. It was so incompetently run.
Yeah, nobody thought that. They might have thought we would never come back to them.
By a very bad president. And I said, you're right, this country is hot. And that was a couple of months ago. You know, now we're talking about what we've done recently. So the country is really going. The numbers are great. I watch you in the mornings, and you're giving those numbers, and they're really good. No inflation. We have a bad Fed chairman, but other than that, we have, you know, great. It doesn't even matter. The numbers are so good, it doesn't matter that he keeps the rates artificially high.
Well, they're not artificial. They're what the Fed sets, and it does matter.
But it's been an amazing period of time.
When you went to the Middle East and you strengthened those relationships with
Allegedly.
all of those countries you just mentioned, did you have an idea that you would have?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, strengthen those relationships with those countries. You mean between him and his business and those countries, not the United States. Okay, sorry. I thought you meant in terms of as the president of the United States. Oh, okay.
To do something with regard to Iran? Because you teased it a little. You said, look, they've got to come to the table and talk. Something's going to happen.
Well, it was getting a little bit hot, and we knew they had a lot of sites, probably 3 plus the 1.
3 plus the 1. We hit 3, so there's a 1 out there too. Good. Okay, there's breaking news.
But they had 3 main sites, and we knew they're going to have to either give them up. And I thought we could do it during negotiation, and we just about had it done. And then they said, we want enrichment. Enrichment doesn't mean like air conditioning, and it doesn't mean to jack up your car. Enrichment is a bad word.
Okay, first of all, what? Enrichment doesn't mean to jack up your car.
Had it done, and then they said, we want enrichment. Enrichment doesn't mean like air conditioning, and it doesn't mean to jack up your car. Enrichment is a bad word.
Okay, enrichment isn't necessarily a bad word. I'm sure, adding vitamin A and D to milk, for example, to enrich it is not particularly concerning. But I don't think anybody thinks enrichment meant air conditioning and to jack up your car. I think if I can honestly try to understand what the fuck he thinks he's saying, is that isn't power for air conditioning because it's hot in that part of the world. So his simple brain is like, it's so hot over there, they must need nuclear reactors just for all the air conditioners. He heard someone joke about that, and then when it filtered its way through the colon that he has instead of a brain, that's the linguistic turd that dropped out. The car thing, I guess, 1.21 gigawatts. Is that what he's? Yeah. He thinks when people are talking about how much power is coming out of these things, somebody like Elon Musk always mentions Marty McFly or the DeLorean, and he doesn't understand what that is. He's like, no, that's not what they're talking about. They're like, asshole, we know these are movies that everybody's seen except you, because no one would go to the movies with you because you fart through the whole thing and you keep asking questions.
And I said, you got so much oil, what do you need that for? And they said, well, we need it, and I wouldn't let that happen.
Is that what they said? Well, we need it. They didn't go further. They didn't break it down. They didn't, you were on the phone with them and they were like, well, we do.
I think people wouldn't have understood it if I allowed that to happen.
I don't understand it now.
So we had a 60-day talk, and that delayed them a lot. And then we said, let's go at it.
Jesus Christ. Okay, first of all, you didn't have it didn't delay them during the 60-day talk, right? They didn't go, all right, we'll talk for 60 days and we won't enrich anything or do anything during those 60 days. They clearly didn't do that, so you're fucking drunk. I don't know what the hell that is. And then we had to go at it. He says hot and heavy a lot, like he doesn't know the difference between strafe bombing somebody and making out with them, which explains, the corner he put E. Jean Carroll in as a human being. Like, maybe there isn't a difference to him.
And it just worked out, and we wanted to work out.
It didn't just work out.
But also for Iran, they were beaten up, and so was Israel. In all fairness, they were both very tight. We call it the 12-day war. That was an intensive war. But
which is still going on.
Thing that I wanted to do, and I've said it on your show, if you look back 30 years ago or 25 years, we've been doing your show a long time and nobody like you. But you look back at the early interviews, I would say Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. They've wanted this for years, and they were weeks away from getting it.
Months, not weeks. Yeah, no.
And those pilots went in there with those beautiful planes and the most sophisticated bombs anywhere in the world. Think of it, they can go 30 stories deep into granite. Who would think that's even possible?
I think the people who designed it, the people who deliver it, the people who plan for this kind of an operation, those people can definitely believe it. I'm guessing.
and they did obliterate it. It turned
And physics professors, probably, and their students, and anybody with a rudimentary understanding of gravity and an awareness that if nukes can do a certain amount of damage, certainly there's a volume of conventional explosives that can, never mind.
then we had to suffer the fake news, where the fake news in CNN and the New York Times was saying, well, maybe it wasn't as good as Trump said. Maybe it wasn't totally obliterated, but it was destroyed, but not just horrible. And I could
Yeah, boo fuckity hoo. You said obliterated, and it's clearly not. Mr. 3 sites plus 1, and you only hit 3 sites, so where's the plus 1?
see it happening, and they tried to build that into a story. And
It is a story. It's a real thing.
then it turned out, no, it was obliterated like nobody's ever seen before.
Well, you can't see obliteration. I think that's sort of a black hole issue. Also, you're insane?
And that meant the end to their nuclear ambitions, at least
Nope.
for a period of time. And
For a period of time. How long? How long was it? 35 seconds? A minute and a half? Where they were like, oh, damn. But we're still going to do it. That was probably how long, right? About 20 seconds? That is where their ambition was destroyed?
a lot of people have said, well, do you think they're going to start again? I said, the last thing they want to do right now is think about nuclear. They have to put themselves back into condition and shape.
You tweet.
Yes. Condition and shape. And the shape of a nuclear warhead, I think, is going to be paramount to their existence, because they're going to think having a nuke is now an existential necessity. Thanks, dummy.
The Democrats leaked an intelligence.
They should be prosecuted.
Who specifically?
Whoa, hold on.
You tweeted the Democrats leaked an intelligence.
They should be prosecuted.
Who specifically? Do we know
people
who did
that
it? Will you
leaked
be
it.
able to find
They
out?
could find out. If they wanted, they could find out easily. You go up and tell the reporter, national security, who gave it. You have to do that.
Well, I guess yank Kash Patel by his ear and drag him the fuck in there, right?
And I suspect we'll be doing things like that.
Well, those pilots were so courageous.
Wait, sorry, you suspect you will be going to reporters and saying, national security, tell me who leaked to you. Also, it isn't. Sorry. You know what it is? Signalgate. If you're not going to prosecute anybody for Signalgate, which was active, battle plans being told 2 hours before our pilots were in the air, which would give anybody with a fucking compass and a calculator the ability to tell where they were coming from, when they would be overhead, and how high up they would be, and how fast they'd be traveling, so you could shoot them down. If you're not going to go after anybody for signal, somebody doing an after action report about whether or not the damage is as real as you said it was, when you say it's obliterated, that's a fact. That's a statement of fact. If it isn't, it's a lie. Therefore, the facts are what's being leaked out. And again, you can't leak a lie. So every time he says there was a leak about we didn't obliterate it, then if he says there's a leak, that means it's true. We did not eliminate their program. It was not obliterated. You know how I know? He told you. It's accidental truth.
Then, you want to honor them. Are you going to do something for them? Or
Yes, they're going to come to the White House. But what you said is right. These people flew 36 hours in a small space, a big plane, but a small space that was mostly occupied by bombs. And they flew so brilliantly. And they hit a target the size of this circle.
Yeah, but they didn't fucking dive bomb it, you dumb motherfucker. These things are laser targeted. It's the technology. They didn't. There wasn't some asshole sitting on top of the bomb like Slim Whitman, using horse reins to guide the thing into the fucking ground. You dummy. It's the technology. It's not undercutting the bomber crew. They did their job very well. They're very well trained. It's amazing. But they didn't F-16 drop. It wasn't fucking Top Gun Maverick, dummy. It just wasn't. They didn't have to dogfight their way out, you dumb motherfucker. Israel cleared the air.
Little target, they say half the size of a refrigerator door from...
By the way, no, they don't. They said refrigerator door, and he made it half size. That's the other thing. Everything's got to be twice as much as they told him, or half as small as they told him. Maybe this is just leftover from his night with Stormy Daniels, that, Everything is cut in half.
50,000 feet up in the air, going at a rapid speed because they're going very fast when they're over a pretty rough territory, and they hit it.
I'm sorry. You think a plane that big has like a coasting speed?
Every single time, and then they knocked out 2 other sites aside from that.
Do you think that the
Also, no, they didn't. They hit those 3. The other 2 sites were hit with surface-to-air missiles from, well, sub-to-air to land missiles.
Iran regime hid some of the enriched uranium before the strikes?
No,
Yes. Yes, they did. They obviously did.
Regime hid some of the enriched uranium before the strikes?
no. You mean did they take it out of
Yeah.
the deep one? No.
Because you were
Out of the deep one. So there's only one deep one? Motherfucker.
pretty clear you can't have a weapon. You're going to have to come to the talk. Something's going to happen.
I don't think they did. No, I think first of all, it's very hard to do. It's very dangerous to do.
No, it is not.
It's very heavy, very, very heavy.
Yeah, they have trucks that can carry it.
It's a very hard thing to do. Plus,
No, it's not. I don't know why he thinks it's hard. I really don't. If you have a system like that, if you have a nuclear program, everything about it is hard, you dumb motherfucker. Everything. Especially protecting it if you plan on using it one day, because you know it's a target, not just from the United States, but from Israel or other countries. You might even have somebody who wants to subvert it to, tip off something in the Middle East. So, like militias in Pakistan and like Taliban-related groups or ISIS will want to trigger something. So you use that material to attack, Israel and blame it on them. So that you have to worry about false flags. That's part. Of course, it's difficult. But of course you can truck the shit around, you weirdo.
we didn't give much notice because they didn't know we were coming until just, then.
Jesus Christ, they didn't have to know you were coming, you dumb motherfucker. Israel was already bombing the area. They could bomb the opening so they couldn't get to the shit. Of course they moved some of it out of there, because even if it only set them back a few months, that would be enough to decapitate the regime. They were under direct assault. So while Israel was hitting them, it made sense to move and secure some of their shit to another location.
Nobody thought we'd go after that site because everybody said that site is impenetrable. You can't, you're not going to be this way. They did. It's at the bottom of a mountain.
The bottom of a mountain. I just want you to think about that phrase for a moment. The bottom of a mountain. Bottom of a mountain. This may help you kind of grasp the fact that the people that we're dealing with here are intellectually incapable of comprehending the issues in front of them in the most generic terms, much less the intricate details of the circumstance, the math or the battle plan aspect of it. They're outsourcing all that shit, hoping that the people that they put in charge of stuff like Raising Cane and all those folks know what the fuck they're doing, because they can't even grasp the concept, bottom of a mountain.
And it's granite. Granite's the hardest stone, and it's granite. So, no.
And we take that for granted.
No, they didn't. But I do believe they had people there because you had cars. They were saying cars. And those were masons. Those were people working with concrete. They were trying to seal up the entrance to where.
I see. As a mason, no. They weren't masons. They're trying to seal up the doors with concrete. You tit.
The bomb would most likely go in, and they did that. They were working on that, and the bomb went through it like it was butter, like it was absolute butter.
Because I saw reports that there were 400 kilograms, 800 pounds that they moved, but I wonder if it's traceable. I mean, if they were to have.
Yeah, you heard reports of that. You've also had people in Maria Bartiromo, I guarantee, has had people, if she's not included in one of these fucking signal conversations, has people within the Pentagon, because it's Fox News, who are friendly to Republicans, who are telling her the truth about this stuff. Or at least it's getting through to people that somebody else at Fox News, and she's hearing it on the whisper trail around there.
They didn't move anything.
They didn't move anything.
They moved themselves. They were all trying to live. They didn't move anything. They didn't.
Also, again, this weird assertion that he makes that they didn't move anything isn't based on anything other than his lack of knowledge about it would make it look like he knows that they moved it. Right? If he says anything but no, it was totally destroyed, they never got out of the way. If he says anything short of that, it's clear that they absolutely could have. He knows that they could have. He knows that they did. So this denial is there's like plausible deniability, and then there's implausible deniability. This is implausible deniability. He can't even know the negative that he's saying, but he's got to say it because if there's any wiggle room at all, we have to hit them again, and that's what's ultimately going to happen. That's what this is heading towards. We're going to strike another site inside of Iran at some point. If the big bill doesn't go through or some other, if he's on the downslope of some other issue, pow.
I didn't think it was going to be actually doable what we did. And what?
Sorry, what? Mushhead?
They didn't move anything.
They moved themselves. They were all trying to live. They didn't move anything. They didn't think it was going to be actually doable what we did.
They didn't think it was going to be an actual doable what we did. So I guess it makes it a didable. A doable. They didn't think it would be an actual doable. They didn't think we'd actually have the capability to pull it off or to do.
And what we did was amazing. And they.
Oh, did we? Really? Were you in the plane, you and JD? Did you get to push the button?
We went. There were energy commissions that went there now. No. It's just
there were energy commissions that went down. Did somebody check the meter?
Thousands of tons of rock in that room right now. That room, the whole place was just destroyed. And the other two also. Now, Israel was able to do damage, but we did the final damage. And we have the greatest submarines in the world. We launched 30 rockets from submarines. Every single one of them hit their target.
How will you?
Yeah, but those weren't bunker busters. Those were for destroying surface buildings. Basically the same kind of thing that Israel was dropping on these things. They weren't the bunker busters, which means the two other sites were just, if they had underground facilities at those places, even as storage, you didn't hit them. Maybe that's where they took the shit. Wouldn't you? I got to tell you. If, ladies and gentlemen, if we think about it, chat room, real quick. Let's play a little game. Let's say you're Iran. You wake up every morning and you say death to America and death to Israel. And you know that both of those countries kind of take it personally. And after the kickoff of October 7th and Donald Trump's whole big thing for 30 years saying Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, and you believe having one is the only thing that's going to stop you, or only thing that's going to stop Israel from bombing you into oblivion at some point once you decide it's time to go to the other side and take them with you. So you've decided you're going to have a nuke, and you got to have one. It's existential. It's important to your existence that you must have a nuclear weapon. You start enriching. And then people bomb your facility. And then you start enriching again. And they bomb your facility again. And every time you get within 6 to 8 months or 10 months of doing it, you get hit by something and you get set back, and you have to rebuild the shit. And then you get around to there's a deal. And you go, okay, you know what? Fuck this. We don't need to do this. We're going to have an enrichment deal. We'll have inspectors come in here and we're just going to have nuclear power. And maybe this will stop, because we have nuclear power, this will stop them from bombing our certain sites because they're afraid of the drift of the nuclear damage that could happen. So this is you're thinking like during Obama, you get this deal and we'll see how it goes. And you've got a new president there, but the Ayatollah may still say what he says, but things are shifting. And then Donald Trump comes in, scuttles the whole fucking thing, and Mr. You can never have a nuclear weapon starts talking about the fact that you have one and you're pretty sure you have one and you got to have one and you're pretty sure you're going to have one. Even if you say you're not, you definitely are, and this was bullshit and you're closer than you ever have, even if you paused. So you start enriching again, and you get to 60%, which is, within spitting distance, months away from enough material and the kind of material you need to actually have one. And it's in these particular facilities. And as you're enriching this stuff, what do you do with it? Do you keep it all in the same spot so that if they hit one target, they knock it all out? Or do you take it and you start storing it in places? You start moving it to 5 or 7 different places around the country some close to your actual nuclear reactors, some, in a military bunker like the ones at Fort Isle, maybe, at an unknown place. Shit, maybe you just take it into a granite cave someplace in a container and just park a truck in there with it, just to make sure there's some, so that if they hit your sites, you can just go and grab this stuff, and you've got enough material that you can keep this process going. Right? You gotta move it. You gotta move it. That's right. You could also, yes, you could make decoys. You could send stuff out, and that's. You basically take a small amount of it, just enough for like satellite trackers to recognize there's radioactive material moving around. So, basically put it in a car with a sunroof so you can really see it. And then you wrap another chunk of it in lead, like a big heavy vehicle. And then you drive that in the other direction. So you spread it out all over the place. You crash that truck into a ravine so it's there. So if you ever need it, you just dig the fucker up, right? Again, maybe they're doing it, maybe they're not. But you and I would do it if that was existential to the safety of the country, right? It's so fucking lazy. All right. Anyways, back to
if
Butterhead.
he tries to start things up again, because Iran just said that they are halting cooperation with the UN nuclear watchdog.
The last thing they're going to be doing right now, for a period of time at least, is nuclear.
Why? What else have they got going on?
At it. They've been trying it for 25 years. The last thing they're going to do is nuclear. We had to hit them, though. They were close to getting a nuclear bomb.
No, they weren't. They were months, if not over a year away. They weren't that close. They weren't fucking putting the final pieces together. This wasn't the end of a Jenga game, you dipshit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, and look, I've heard from people inside Iran that the regime in Iran has executed more Iranian civilians in the past 48 hours than the number of Iranians who died in the 12-day war. So, I mean, you've got a regime that's been building ballistic missiles, building or trying to build a nuclear weapon. Why should we...
Look at him. He has no idea what the fuck she's talking about. Look at his face. Look at his fucking stupid... God damn it. Think about this for a second.
Here I am like an idiot.
He has no idea what the fuck she's talking about. No idea whatsoever. These details should be in his presidential daily brief. I guarantee they are. And he doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. Look at him. She's giving him a piece of information. You can tell. This is the look he gives to people on his staff who tell him this is stuff you don't know and you need to know this. So what is going through this dipshit's brain, if anything, right now, is how do I spin this back to what I want to talk about, to my lie?
think that they're actually going to give up on this?
Well, they might not give up, but they're going to give up on it while they're exhausted. They are exhausted. They took hits like nobody's ever taken. And frankly, Israel is tight.
Also, Gaza? What are you talking about? You think Tehran was hit? Look at fucking Ukraine. They're not bending. Jesus Christ. Kyiv was hit worse than Tehran was in the beginning of the Russian war. They're not exhausted. They're fanatics, you dumb motherfucker. Oh my God. Fanatics don't get exhausted. That's one of the features you have to concern yourself with when you're dealing with a regime that's based on a specific ideology, especially one that's effectively a death cult like Khomeini. That, by the way, doesn't reflect, this is not what the Iranian people want, but those motherfuckers don't care. In the same way that this asshole doesn't give a shit about the heartland or fucking maggots. He's doing business. If you die, it's they're culling the herd a little bit. Same thing is true of Khomeini. That's why he's like, they're exhausted. No, you're projecting. You're exhausted. You're both old fucks. And that's what he's doing. He's looking at Khomeini going, I'm exhausted. He must be more exhausted. That's where this is coming from.
They wanted to, it was the perfect time. We went in, we destroyed their nuclear capability.
Nope.
and we stopped. It was a beautiful thing. And they couldn't have gone on much further. And Israel was that was a very intense 12 days. Very.
Jesus Christ. No, it was not. Look, there was, there were bombs going off. You had Israel, the Iron Dome was like running out of munitions at one particular point. There was more of a reason to slow things down for Israel to protect their cities, because while they were targeting, and this is, say what you will there, chat room that gets upset sometimes about this, but Israel was striking places where they knew generals were or scientists were, and Iran was just bombing Tel Aviv. They were just strafe bomb. They just didn't give a shit where anything landed. They were just bombing a city. They just knew that the Iron Dome would protect most of the people, so they would avoid, civilian death, war crimes on their attacks, because Iran has the Iron Dome. So they could just do it, and it would be very scary and look like they were big tough. We really mean to wipe you out. That darn shield gets in the way. Meanwhile, Israel was striking military sites and military targets within the country. They were, like, Tehran still stands. They didn't wipe Tehran. Oh, fuck. Hold on. This is going to aggravate me. It always does. I know. Hold on. Let me show you something. Hold on. Live Tehran cam. Turn off the mute. Here you go. It's a live shot here on the right. Here's Tehran, Isfahan. There's South Israel and Gaza. It's dark there, whatever. This is an Israel cam. There's another Isfahan, whatever. This is still there. That's not fire. That's traffic and street lights and shit like that. They're still there. By the way, nighttime. Here's nighttime in Tehran. This is nighttime in Gaza. Notice anything? Notice anything different between these two places? As far as they were hit like nobody's ever been hit before, you dipshit. So fucking aggravating. They've been hit like nobody's ever. Jesus Christ, man. Hold on. This is Tel Aviv sky. This is. I don't know if this is live now. That Iran is still firing on them. See, Tehran, I don't know. Safe and over top commanders. Here you go. There you go. This is hit harder than anybody's ever been hit before. There's Tel Aviv. There's Iran. There's other cities. There's Haifa. Yeah. There's Qom in Iran. There's the West Bank. Look at that. Street lights. Street lights, people. Ah! Right. There you go. Street lights. There you go. And, yeah, there's just stuff. There's Tel Aviv. Anybody see like nobody's ever been, never ever hit before. There's nobody ever hit. Jesus Christ, man. Meanwhile, let's see. I don't know if we have, well, shit. What can I show? It's always tough, man, when it comes to showing you guys stuff from Ukraine, because a lot of it would effectively violate the terms of service on here. It's Donetsk. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, can't show that. Can't show that. People being blown to smithereens, carcasses. There you go. Let's see if we could show this. There you go. There's that's in Luhansk, in the like the Russian controlled areas in Ukraine right now. Right, that tonight, currently. And that's the long shot I can show you. Here's a, let's see, where's the, nope, can't show that. Let me see if I can do this. I'm trying to show you like up-to-date shit. There's Rostov on Don. Yeah, there's the Luhansk one. As a result of the UAV attack and oil deposit. Yeah. This is the. It's an oil refinery and facility in Luhansk, in the Donbass. It was hit by an unmanned aerial vehicle, a UAV, a drone. That's now. Meanwhile, it's nighttime in Tehran. Here's Tehran right there. There you go. So the idea that these assholes are over it or done or are crying uncle is fucking stupid. They are sleeping peacefully compared to the people who are listening to air raid sirens in Kyiv right now. This motherfucker.
Very intense.
Has any other country suggested to you recently, as a result of this, that they want to join the Abraham Accords?
Yes. So we have some really great countries in there right now, and I think we're going to start loading them up because...
Okay, who?
Iran was the primary problem. I actually thought Iran would... I actually thought we had a period of time where I thought Iran would join the Abraham Accords along with everybody else, and frankly, they would have...
No.
Been better off than where they are right now.
And what about the Abraham Accords? Would Syria enter?
Well, I don't know, but, I did take off the sanctions at the request of some of the other countries in the area that are friends of ours. I took off the sanctions on Syria to give them a chance at, the sanctions are biting. They're very strong.
Oh, they're very biting and very strong. So, just to be real clear, if any Syrian groups are tied to any violence that happens in the region that harms our soldiers or people in the United States, we can draw it back to you lifting the sanctions, right? We're allowed to do that. That's that happens even to Israel or something like that. You're cool with that being your fucking fault? Because it's gonna be.
And we have sanctions on Iran too. And you take them off when I sort of gave the expression today, you get more sometimes with honey than you do with vinegar.
Yeah, that's the colloquialism. That's how we used to, say you attract more bees with honey than vinegar, but maybe throw in a bit of a spoonful of sugar and, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, and just mix, rinse, and repeat. Just throw the words around. Can you read that to us again? How does it work?
Sanctions on Iran too. Mm-hmm. And, you take them off when I sort of gave the expression today, you get more sometimes with honey than you do with vinegar.
Okay, that is true, though. He sort of gave the expression today.
Well, you waived the sanctions on the oil with regard to China. So you're allowing China to still buy the oil from Iran?
Well, no, I didn't say that. We have the sanctions on. And if they do a job and if they can be peaceful and if they can show us they're not going to do any more harm, I would take the sanctions off. And
He already said he did. Hold on. Wait. China. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna try the. What did he say? Let's see what he said. Okay, so let's see what Maria said. Let's see his answer real quick.
No, I didn't say that. More sometimes with honey than you do with vinegar.
Well, you waived the sanctions on the oil with regard to China. So you're allowing China to still buy the oil from Iran?
Well, no, I didn't say that. We have the sanctions on. And if they do a job and if they can be peaceful and if they can show us they're not going to do any more harm, I would take the sanctions off. And the sanctions would make a big difference, as you know.
Okay, so she says you lifted the sanctions on China buying Iran's oil. And he said, no, if they do a job, we will. Okay, June 25th, U.S. President Donald Trump said on Tuesday that China can continue to purchase Iranian oil after Israel and Iran agreed to a ceasefire already, that's past tense, A move the White House clarified did not indicate a relaxation of U.S. sanctions, which it absolutely did. China can now continue to purchase oil from Iran. Hopefully, they will be purchasing plenty from the U.S. also, Trump said in a post on Truth Social just days after he ordered U.S. bombings of 3 Iranian nuclear sites. The president continues to call on China and all countries to import our state-of-the-art oil. Jesus Christ. Our goo is so much finer than their goo, rather than import Iranian oil in violation of U.S. sanctions. But, on Truth Social, China can now continue, I guess he was okay with it before, to purchase oil from Iran. Hopefully they'll begin purchasing plenty from the U.S. also. He didn't say if maybe, if possibly, they could. I said if they are peaceful. Mm-mm.
You know, when I was, we had a great success in the first term. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country.
No, we did not.
By the way, it's going to be absolutely, this is better. This is going to be, I think, even much better. But we had the greatest economy in history. And we use sanctions. You use them very carefully. You know, sanctions cost us a lot of money. It's not just, gee, we're going to put sanctions on. When you do sanctions, it costs a lot of money.
No, it doesn't. I mean, look, I don't know. Maybe this is Matt Gaetz talking or him or whatever. Like when you put, let's say you put sanctions on a country for human trafficking, I suppose the price of a child for sex slavery goes up. And so you and Matt Gaetz will, you know, it hits you right in the pocketbook. The rest of us don't give a fuck.
But I would, one of the things I was thinking about doing, you start waiving them for countries like if they behave themselves like Iran, where they can sell oil and they can do the things that you want to be able to do. The sanctions are very powerful, and it makes it difficult. I'm not looking to make it difficult. I want them to have a good life, but they were trying to develop a bomb, and the reason you try and develop a bomb like that is to use it.
But I want to get your
Fucking hell.
take on China, really, because you've announced an agreement with the Chinese Communist Party, where China will export the rare earth minerals.
Yeah.
What does that mean in terms of this upcoming tariff structure? You've got a pause in terms of the more steep tariffs that ends August 12th. Are you going to extend that? Are you going to keep that in place or go back to a higher tariff on China?
China's going to be paying a lot of tariffs, but...
Did you hear that edit? Listen to how hot cut they did this.
Or go back to a higher tariff on China.
China's going to be paying...
Listen to that.
Are you going to keep that in place or go back to a higher tariff on China?
China's going to be paying a lot.
Jesus. Can you imagine what rambly bullshit he was saying up till that word? And because he was like jamming the words close together, that they had to do that hard a cut.
Are you going to keep that in place or go back to a higher tariff on China?
China's going to be paying a lot of tariffs, but we have a big deficit.
Jesus.
They understand that.
See, it couldn't be even... this is important. They couldn't even be on him when they made the cut because it would be a jump cut.
China's going to be paying a lot of tariffs, but we have a big deficit. They understand that. I have a great relationship with President Xi. We have to do something about the deficit because we have a big trade deficit with China. Biden let it get up to $1 trillion. Think of it, $1 trillion deficit with one country.
Yeah, because they're our wholesaler, you dumb motherfucker. And during COVID, everything shut down. So there was the deficit dropped because nobody was buying anything, and then everybody made up for it as soon as the economy started coming back. People were like, "Wow, America is recovering faster than any other country in the world." Thanks to Joe Biden, and the deficit went up because people were like, "Oh, we can buy goods and sell them to the rest of the world," which is exactly what we do with that shit.
He let them just take them over the coals. We're not going to do that.
Take them over the... He let... Who?
Deficit with one country. He let them just take them over the coals. We're not going to do that.
He let them take them over the coals. Must be an eyes wide shut sex party thing. Just fuck on hot coals or something like that. I don't know.
But we're doing a rare earth deal, but we're also doing, remember, we have all of the airplane parts. They can't fly their airplanes without us. So we had, some guards also. But it should have never gotten that way because we should have been doing they call it magnets. It's a rare earth, but they call it magnets.
Do they? That's what they call it? They call it fucking magnets? Is that what they... Jesus Christ.
We should have been doing they call it magnets. It's a rare earth, but they call it magnets, a specific type. And they're making those magnets for us right now, and things are well. And we have a deal with China. It's a good deal, I think, hopefully for everybody.
Okay. So some of the rare earth materials are used to make magnets, and the ones he's talking about are the ones that they use for military applications. Like how many of these magnets are in each of these sensors and that kind of stuff. And it's fairly common. There's just a lot of bulk of it in China. It's nowhere near the hardest stuff to find, though. He just the only reason he knows about the magnetic elements of rare earth and why those are necessary is because all he gives a shit about is defense. He doesn't understand like all the electronics components that are necessary, which is much more ubiquitous in the world economy, much more necessary to the safety and security of the country, even than your fucking fighter jets. The triggers and the sensors in those things, still important, but fucking hell. Hold on, I gotta step back on this.
Things are well, and we have a deal with China. It's a good deal, I think, hopefully for everybody. We had a deal with China where it was 145% tariffs, and I will tell you, everything stopped in China. I saw that everything stopped, and
yeah, the boats shipping things to the United States.
We did China a favor, but we're getting along well with China. I think getting along well with China is a very good thing.
In what way? What do you mean getting along? Maybe that should be the question, Maria. What do you mean getting along? Are you supportive of the Uyghurs that are in concentration camps? The sterilization? The forced fucking... like Han Chinese dude in the house that can fuck all the women if he wants to, this kind of prima nocta bullshit that they're doing, as they basically either murder, sterilize, or breed them out of existence. You're getting along with that part? Because those are the ones who are working in these mines. You know where those rare earths are fucking coming from? Guess who's operating in those mines? Guess who's down in those fucking pits? Do you think it's upper class northern Chinese people? Do you think it's might be some people snatched from fucking Vietnam? A couple of those, I'm sure. But it's a bunch of fucking Uyghurs.
But they are paying substantial tariffs.
Well, I noticed that because it seems like you could
No, they're not. We are.
go so far with China, but you don't sort of use the leverage that you can use. I mean, look.
If I ever had to use it, I'd use it. But when there's no reason to use it, that's good too.
Well, we did just arrest 3 or 4 Chinese nationals who tried to bring a pathogen into the country that gets people sick and destroys food supply. We've got hacking.
You don't know where that came from, though. I mean, did that come from the country, or is that 3 wackos that happened to carry something? You just don't.
Well, there was one.
What do you mean you just don't know, you motherfucker? You're the president of the United States. By the way, what he's talking about, hold on. This is what she's talking about. It was a fungus. I believe it was Michigan they were bringing it into. Yeah. Let's see. Here you go. Chinese nationals charged with conspiracy and smuggling a dangerous biological pathogen into the U.S. for their work at University of Michigan Laboratory. Yun Qingjian, 33, Zun Yongyu, 34, citizen of the People's Republic of China, were charged in a criminal complaint with the conspiracy, smuggling goods into the United States, false statements, and visa fraud. The FBI arrested Jian in connection with allegations related to Jian and Liu's smuggling into America a fungus called Fusarium graminarum, which scientific literature classifies as a potential agro-terrorism weapon. This noxious fungus causes head blight, a disease of wheat. By the way, this is why we have fucking biological labs in Ukraine. Because Ukraine has fucking wheat, and it's the breadbasket of Europe, and it's where a lot of Africa gets a lot, the aid that we used to send to Africa when Americans gave a shit about USAID before we soft pedaled Donald Trump into fucking office again. That wheat came from Ukraine, and one of the reasons why we have biolabs there is to fight head blight, right? Wheat blight, things that kill entire crops. It's something you have to be on top of all the fucking time. And there are bio and agro-terrorism ways of controlling this stuff on purpose so that you can wipe out the food of a place before you come in and kill everybody. It's done in Africa all the fucking time. The Wagner Group, the Chinese, they roll through there and they destroy crops with this kind of shit so that they can come in and go, hey, our special crop doesn't have that problem. So we'll sell you seed, and then if they don't pay you for it specifically, you cut it off and they can't get seed that grows there anymore because there's this fucking blight waiting for anywhere. If you buy the seed that isn't immune to it that they've designed, fucking hell. All right. Head blight, a disease of wheat, barley, maize, and rice, and is responsible for billions of dollars in economic losses worldwide each year. Fusarium graminearum's toxins cause vomiting, liver damage, and reproductive defects in humans and livestock. According to the complaint, Jen received Chinese government funding for her work on this pathogen in China. The complaint also alleges that Jen's electronics contain information describing her membership in and loyalty to the Chinese Communist Party. It is further alleged that Jen's boyfriend Liu works at a Chinese university where he conducts research on the same pathogen, that he first lied, but then admitted to smuggling it into America through the Detroit Metropolitan Airport so that he could conduct research on it at the laboratory at the University of Michigan where his girlfriend Jen worked. The alleged actions of these Chinese nationals, included a loyal member of the Chinese Communist Party, are of the gravest national security concerns. These two aliens are charged with smuggling a fungus that has been described as a potential agro-terrorism weapon into the heartland of America, where they apparently intended to use it, to use a University of Michigan laboratory to further their scheme. To grow it. You take this much in, and then you go into the lab. While she's got access to the lab, you can grow a shit ton of it, and enough to make a weapon. Enough to release it and destroy this. Good fucking God. You don't know. It's maybe some crazies. Listen to this asshole. This is that. What I just read you, by the way, is the justice.gov summary of the U.S. Attorney of Eastern District of Michigan's charges against them. That's what she's referencing. This is a real thing. And listen to his fucking response.
And destroys food supply.
There's no reason to use it. That's good too.
Well, we did just arrest 3 or 4 Chinese nationals who tried to bring a pathogen into the country that gets people sick and destroys food supply. We've got hacking.
You don't know where that came from, though. I mean, did that come from the country, or is that 3 wackos that happened to carry something? You just don't.
Well, there was one that he signed that he would be, one of them signed a paper saying that he would value Mao Zedong's value system. So there was that. And then they hacked, and they hack into our telecom system. They've been stealing intellectual property. They fentanyl.
Yeah, you don't understand, Maria. TikTok helped him get elected, which means the Chinese government used the algorithm to boost Donald Trump because for some fucking reason, they thought he would be more friendly to them. I don't know where you get that idea.
COVID, I mean, all of this stuff.
Oh, yes, I will be doing an AMA after the show now because we hit our goal. Thanks, guys.
So how do you negotiate with obviously a bad actor and trust them on economics?
You don't think we do that to them? We do.
So
we do a lot of things.
That's the way the world works?
Hold on. We do not smuggle crop-killing pathogens into their country, dummy. Look at his fucking face.
It's the way the world works. It's a nasty world.
And then you just do a trade deal?
We do. Well, we made a lot of money with this trade deal. I do a trade deal if it works. We made a lot of money with the trade.
So if some people have to be poisoned and have their fucking, livers turn to liquid and bleed out their asshole, that's, I mean, what do you want, T-shirts to be $1 more?
Deal.
You think that China's going to stop bullying companies to give them information? In terms of in exchange for getting those rare earth minerals now?
The companies shouldn't put themselves in that position. They really shouldn't. Now, I will say this. China right now needs those companies much more than they needed them 2 years ago. 2 years ago, China.
Right. Everybody, the same way that Microsoft needed Apple to survive. That's why during the Gil Amelio years, Bill Gates invested in Apple, because they were basically the R&D firm for Windows. That's not necessarily good, though. They're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart.
And they could do that today. They can't, because they need those companies. They need Apple. They need all of, Apple's spending $600 billion, $700 billion in the United States building plants. They were never going to do that. Think of it, $700 billion.
CHIPS Act.
But a lot of the companies that are in China are now relocating back to the United States. So
No, they're not.
yeah, China's going to treat them much better as they need them. They didn't need them under Biden because they were ripping us off left and right. They need them under Trump.
What? They didn't need American companies to come into China, but they need American companies to come into China under Trump so that they can steal intellectual property, which is what she was referencing.
Just had a big success at NATO, getting the members to agree to spend more on defense. Is there anything you can do to get Congress to...
All right, look. If you show up at a party with a gun, and the next time you come to the party, everybody has 2 guns because you showed up with a gun, you didn't make the situation more of a draw and therefore more peaceful. Look at this. I brought a gun to this party, and now everybody's got a gun, and so we're all basically in a Mexican standoff, Somebody was worried that I would walk in there and shoot people, but now everybody's got a gun. They upped the ante that they're willing to put in because they know that Donald Trump is a problem, because he's not going to back them, and Russia will take advantage of this. And again, all they have to do is announce it. He's never going to fucking follow up. They're going to phase it in starting a year from now, and then a year after that, they'll give certain people dispensations, and a year after that, we'll have a Democrat in office. That's what they're counting on.
Codify this, to get their governments to codify it.
Right, that's what she's saying about codifying. By the way,
What you do, the best insurance is if they don't do it, you leave. You don't do business with them anymore. You don't do business. You have to have a certain trust, but you can also say trust but verify. But we're making unbelievable deals.
There is litigation.
Look at the fucking edits. Like, he just rambled. That was just gibberish. Watch her cut on this.
What you do, the best insurance is if they don't do it, you leave. You don't do business with them anymore. You don't do business. You have to have...
That's what we're doing with a treaty. That's what a treaty is, business. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about NATO. That if they don't do business, you don't like how they're doing business, you don't do business anymore. It ain't business, motherfucker. It's life and death. This is the problem with a businessman running the fucking government, ladies and gentlemen. I've heard this for so long where people are like, we need a businessman in there. Nope. Because you can't fire the poor. Because life matters. Because this isn't about property. This isn't about leverage and sales. These are real human lives on the line. And this kind of flippant, especially if you are going to pick somebody who's done business, at least have a bootstrapper who started the fucking thing. Not these second-generation rich kids like him. You think this motherfucker, you'd know his name if his dad hadn't built a business? You're kidding me, right?
A certain trust, but you can also say trust but verify. But we're making unbelievable deals.
There is litigation.
See that edit? We're making unbelievable deals there.
Around the legality of those tariffs. Are you going to be able to get more trade deals done before you hear from the International Court of Appeals in August?
Sure, but we won the litigation and we had the delay and we had some radical left judge and then we had it overturned. And we're doing well in all of our litigation. We're doing well on the tariff litigation. Look, if some
No, he isn't.
judge said we can't do tariffs, we would fall prey to the rest of the world who would do tariffs and are doing tariffs on us.
By the way, no judge said you can't do tariffs. You just can't do... The president does not have the power to do blanket tariffs on the entire fucking world willy-nilly. You need Congress's job. It's Congress's job. And here's the thing. This motherfucker has the House and the Senate. That's the part I like. I think more attention needs to be drawn to this. Because they've got the House, and he could get these tariffs if he really believes in them and they're really going to work. Why wouldn't his own party that controls the House and the Senate be able to pass the fucking things? Why would they be able to put together? I mean, besides the fact they're all stupid and it's a lie. No, okay, let's put this aside. Let's pretend we're on Earth 1 and what he's saying has any sense of reality to it. If I was the Republican president of the United States and I was going to present a massive trade negotiation with how the rest of the world deals with the United States because I felt like we were being taken advantage of, even though, like, I don't know anybody that doesn't have a trade deficit with their wholesaler or a rich person who doesn't have a purchasing deficit with the store on their corner. Like, it's just ridiculous. But let's just operate in this fantasy fucking world. I'd bring in a team of 10 to 15 people. Each one would have a strategy group assigned to them for sectors of the economy and the major suppliers in the United States. And we would start there. We'd start with all the most expensive things and try shaving off as much of those around the necessities as we possibly could. And then anything that was optional culturally, we would have almost zero tariffs on because it would be a cultural exchange aspect of things. But wine and cheese and that kind of shit, by volume from Italy and France, they're never going to be able to catch up with the amount of volume we have here. So we're going to have a deficit. So what we would want to do is just exchanges, not trying to overtake their system, not having their system overtake ours, but a fusion of those two industries and opening up the sort of interactive trade on those areas so that you have more cultural exchange with countries all over the world. And then you worry about the big materials that other stuff is built upon, that the United States uses to build its own shit. That you would focus on those. You'd have like a working group on each of those, and then you would send them to Congress in your first 30 days and go, this is going to happen. I'm going to start issuing these individually because I believe it to be a financial emergency that's going to cost us, and it's because it could extrapolate costs over the years that we're here. For every month we let it pass, the interest on how much our deficit is costing us in this particular area, or how it's strangling our industry, will catch up with us at some point. We can look down the road and say steel production will be destroyed if we keep heading in this direction. So every month that passes while we're still doing this, we've got to remedy it now. And so this is how I'm going to do it, and it's going to be gnarly unless you guys help. So this is what I would like to propose, and we will work this way out, and then pass the fucking thing. Vote on it. If it's going to work, if some variation of it's going to work, and then operate it in stages so that you can go, we're going to do this, and then if they come back and try to harm our system, we're going to implement a higher tiered part of this, and they vote on it, and then it starts this process. And then you have the president would be given in that legislation a time window of a year and a half and the ability leading up to the midterms or the next election, which is probably the window that you could get from the House or the Senate. And then during that time, you would say, okay, in the first 4 months, if they don't meet us halfway on this part, we're going to ratchet it up to this next mark and then this next mark. And the business community would know this. The other country would know this. The Congress will have signed off on it and made it actually happen. And it will give the president flexibility to interact, raise and lower it a little bit, but it wouldn't be fucking wrenching the goddamn economy back and forth. This is not that complicated. Even in the complication of this kind of, the tariffs themselves being a complicated thing. This motherfucker just thinks it's a light switch. And the courts didn't say the president can't do tariffs. The president can do tariffs within the confines of what the Congress has given him. And the idea that he can blanket tariff the whole fucking world and upend the economy is just stupid. This all comes from, I got to tell you, this is blowback from the Cold War. This is fundamentally blowback from the Cold War, where the president of the United States was given a football. He was given this briefcase that in it has the nuclear codes in it. And if he ever decides on a whim to Martin Sheen this shit, he's got the power to do it. He can put his fucking hand sensor on this thing and say the missiles are away, hallelujah, and launch a first strike. He's got the power to do that. And so what Trump extrapolates from that thing, this like Cold War necessary evil that you had to scare, even if it's, by the way, there's a possibility that the football story is bullshit, that it actually does take several people to do this. But the story that is told to the world is to scare the Soviets back in the day or anybody else, that the president could go fucking wacko and kill everybody, so you better mind your manners. But let's say it is true. What he's gotten from that is that there's a football for everything. If I want to nuke the economy because I feel the threat is there, I should be able to do that. If I want to nuke our international relationships with other countries as far as immigration, I should be able to do that. All I have to do is perceive a threat, snap, and put my hand on the panel and say, fuck them. That's where this all comes from. If I have the ability and the power and the right to nuke the fucking world, anything below that, I certainly have the right to do whatever the fuck I want.
We couldn't fight them back with tariffs. This country would be in terrible shape. We would be like this innocent lamb being led to slaughter. So
that's adorable.
No, we're doing great on economics. We're doing great on tariffs. Tariffs is just a part of it. We're drilling like never before. That's how the oil.
We were drilling like never before when Biden was in. We haven't increased drilling.
Got down low.
The Supreme Court victory that you
Edit. Look at that. He lied and she cut it out.
Like
Watch.
never before. That's how the oil got down low.
the Supreme Court victory.
That's how the oil got down low cut. Did you see that? I want to be clear. Maggots in the chat, pay attention to your hero right here. Maria Bartiromo is cutting the living fuck out of this interview.
Drilling like never before. That's how the oil got down low.
The Supreme Court victory that you got today, Friday, do you think that could apply to the tariff litigation that's pending here in terms of the legality of your tariffs? Does that affect that at all?
It could, but again, the tariff litigation, if you look at it, there are alternatives if we have to use them. They're not as good because they're not as direct. They're not as biting, but they're very good. So that you have alternatives, but we want to use this particular asset, this particular grouping, the words of this are so beautiful, they were meant for it. But what happens with the tariff?
The what?
Alternatives, but we want to use this particular asset, this particular grouping, the words of this are so beautiful, they were meant for it. But what happens with the tariff?
I mean, just fucking gibberish.
Is that if a judge ruled against us, and this is part of how you win, fairness is also a part of the law. If a judge ruled against us on tariffs, we would fall prey to other countries destroying us. We can't do that. If they do
Well, no, you would just have to pass it through the Congress.
tariffs on us, we do tariffs on them.
Hold on.
It's destroying us. We can't do that. If they do tariffs on us,
Yes, if they do tariffs on us,
we fall prey to other countries destroying us. We can't do that. If they do tariffs on us, we do tariffs on them.
right, it's a tariff on tariff.
If they charge us, we charge them. Then they never charge us.
Yeah, that's not how it works at all. That's not how it's been working.
Hey, it's
Jesus Christ. So that's dear leader from yeah. Oh, let's see. By the way, let me check in on the voting here and the thing. Let me get this. Votorama still going crazy. Ding 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 ding. Woohoo! Votorama. This poor guy. This fucking page just like, I had dreams. My dreams were in the Senate. And one day I would be in it. A page boy to them all. Yeah. Wandering around, talking about shit, waiting for stuff. Somebody's got to bring in this thing. By the way, I'm not, nobody's excited about them to be in a hurry about this. Let's see. They read the bill out loud. Now hold on, let's see if there's something else here.
This is Gillibrand.
Okay, hold on. There.
Mr. Kennedy.
Hold on.
Without objection.
Hold on, let me see what this.
Is not agreed to. The point of order is sustained and the amendment fails.
Motion to waive the Budget Act with respect to the Blackburn Amendment to H.R. 1 with the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Yeas 53, nay 47.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that it be in order for the following senators to be recognized to offer amendments, motions, or points of order, that the amendments be reported by number with no amendment in order prior to a vote in relation to amendments or motions. Kane, motion to commit, and Blumenthal, motion to commit.
Without objection.
I have a motion to commit at the desk.
Clerk will report.
Senator from Virginia, Mr. Kane, moves to commit the bill, H.R. 1, to the Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs with instructions.
I ask that further reading of the motion be dispensed with.
Without objection.
Mr. President, 30% of the federal workforce is veterans, compared with only 6% of the overall workforce. The Trump administration has fired more veterans than any administration in the history of the United States. Derek Copeland, as an example, was a 20-year Air Force veteran who trained bomb-sniffing dogs. He then took a job with the Department of Agriculture to train dogs to sniff out illegal agricultural products. He was fired 11 days before the end of his probationary year. His termination letter said, "You have not demonstrated that your further employment at the agency would be in the public interest." He said, "I gave blood, sweat, and tears to this country for 20 years to continue service to the federal government. I feel like I've been thrown out like a piece of trash." My motion hits pause on this bill and would stop mass firing of veterans because it's wrong, and I would ask my colleagues to support my motion.
Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from Montana.
Well, I thank my colleague, the other Tim, for his concern for our veterans. I feel compelled to note that this motion alone would stop the big, beautiful bill in its tracks. I've been asking for months, where was the Democrat outrage similarly when we laid off tens of thousands of veterans and contractors during the COVID vaccine hesitancy pandemic? There were no due process and no consideration for their service was given.
The process was you have to be vaccinated to interact with the public because there's a contagious disease going on. It was very specific.
Democrats trying to nitpick and derail this bill by disguising the fact that they are advocating for the largest tax increase in the history of mankind, a $4 trillion tax increase. That's what they're really
who's that on?
Advocating for. This is also completely unnecessary. Federal law requires the Office of Personnel Management to consider military preference in hiring within our federal workforce. We have to stop using veterans as political pawns. The best thing we can do for veterans is have a strong, capable federal government that is fiscally sound. I urge a no vote on this amendment.
Do I have remaining time?
6 seconds.
We can stop this, and we should. President Trump's only been in office 6 months, and he's already fired more veterans than any president in American history. Please vote yes.
There you go. So they're going to go through it. This is how the Democrats are doing. This is the vote-a-rama part of it. So
the question is on the motion.
They've got to go through this process on each amendment.
There appears to be. The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Also Brooks, Ms. Baldwin,
So they'll go through, everybody's got a chance to walk over. And the Senate, it's interesting, it's like the House, when they vote on these things, they tend to all be there. When the Senate comes, like, they're calling an amendment here, run down there and tell them you're going to vote.
Mr. Banks.
Yep.
Mr.
And
Barrasso.
they can, I'm guessing they can come by if they know, and they don't have to wait for the call. They can write aye, it would seem.
Mr. Bennett. Mrs. Blackburn.
Not there. That's Langford right there, over there. Kelly, I think. By the way, there's Langford and Kelly talking. Kelly's a good dude. Our Kelly from Arizona. In that thing I showed you guys earlier today on the morning show when Tara was on, Kelly was to the right of Fetterman on votes and stuff. And no one would ever accuse Kelly of being right-leaning. He was just in what votes he was there for and what he participated in. He signed on to more co-sponsored bills. And therefore, in the co-sponsoring, that puts you, because you teamed up with Republicans to get something passed, you end up to the right of Fetterman. Nobody is dragging Kelly in, going, this motherfucker's betraying us every turn. It's because people are talking at you guys, not to you guys. They're talking out of their ass. So there you go, and then they continue this count. And then they're going to keep doing this. That's what this vote-a-rama thing is. They're going to keep bringing these things forward. A lot of these people are going to come in and check to see if they're it's their turn to vote, and then they'll come in and do it, and then they'll leave, and then somebody will, there's crews like, was that Grassley almost eating shit right there? Screenagers. There's Mullen.
Mr. Ricketts, no.
Wouldn't it be weird if this actually, they misjudged and somebody said yes, and they actually sent it back to committee by accident? And somebody's like, I did what? Like, because you only need, I think, one or two, that if a Republican came in and just, and said...
Mr. Scott of Florida, no.
No shit. So this is what the Democrats are doing by and large, because this is the only option they have, because we took their power away. The people who want better for the people of, for the Palestinian people in Gaza and the West Bank, the people who want better for those who need aid from USAID, the people who want an education for all of our children, who want things like SNAP to function for the people who fall through the cracks, who want to make sure that there's support for the homeless, to make sure that Social Security is sound, all the time. Those folks, all those people who, allege that, tell their friends that, operate on the premise that they're that way when they show up at marches and when they, wear their pink pussy hats or fly their Palestinian flags up. Those folks, all those folks, we gave the power to Republicans because there's a bunch of people among us that are full of shit. But they used the right password. We took our power away. We gave the House and the Senate to the Republicans. We gave the House and the Senate control to Donald Trump. We gave him the Supreme Court. We did. And we have to remedy that. We have work to do. Actual material work. I find it despicable that people throw around the they about Republicans doing this when the power was handed to them. Not we as a country. The ones that stood down. The people that stood outside of the DNC with signs that said Genocide Joe, but didn't go anywhere near Mar-a-Lago when Netanyahu was meeting privately with Trump to plan this whole fucking thing out. Who listened to him say Trump Plaza Gaza and call the Palestinians a fucking cancer and went, I don't know, I think it'd be better for him than the Democrats. Because what have they really done? The rescue package, the child tax credit, the Infrastructure Act, the ACA, every social safety net program that exists, birthed out of Democrats, carried, responsibly rebuilt every time a Republican comes in and wrecks the fucking thing. And what's the response? What's the difference? It's a system. The system and the establishment system, and the system is shut the fuck up. It's so gross. It's so gross. And there's no excuse. There is no lesser of two evils situation in this urban. I'm tired of giving any kind of lip service to these motherfuckers. The Republicans right now are trying to vote on this thing that will gut Medicaid. And the idea that Democrats would have rolled in and done the same thing? Are you insane? Do you think this big, beautiful bill with the, keeping Trump's tax cut while adding $5 trillion to the, raising the debt ceiling, adding $3 trillion to the deficit so that they could extend tax cuts for these motherfuckers, that cuts into Medicaid and Medicare? You think Democrats would have actually brought this to the floor? Do you have any idea how insane that is? And this namby-pamby half-ass that you keep seeing on, around, TYT world, got us in this position. And anybody who just nodded along like, it's corporate Dems, shut the fuck up. Do you know how bad this is for people, what the Republicans are doing? It's off the goddamn charts. And I'm telling you, if Joe Biden had run again and won, do you think this would be the bill he would be passing? Do you think these are the cuts they would be making? Do you think we would have bombed Iran, for fuck's sake? Shit, do you think we would have gone into Iraq if Al Gore had been president? Hey, but you want to have a beer with the other guy, and what's the difference in the system and the establishment and the party and the Democrats and the corporate Democrats and blah, blah, blah. What's the difference? A huge fucking difference. And anybody who tells you something wants the collapse. They want these people harmed. Because again, I cannot believe that anybody innocently thought that Donald Trump would be better for the Palestinians than the Democrats would be. Like, just legitimately, like, they were like, I'm shocked. I don't buy it. After what he said and what we all heard him say over and over and over again, I don't buy it. I can't believe there are that many people that are that fucking stupid. And so the only answer is, this is what they wanted. Would love for me to debate Cenk. Glad to. But I find the methodology over there disgusting. And again, anybody who touts this, if we don't get everything, nobody gets anything bullshit, it does not care. They're the exact same as the Republicans, like, well, you can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs. And by omelets, I mean poor people's lives. Most people don't care about those things. They don't have to, Kevin. They don't. You can appeal to their, like, good nature and their common sense. And if you're willing to go, things are complex, you shouldn't have to worry about this. I'll worry about that part, but these are the principles we're operating in this decision making. And if you have any questions, I will explain to you the reasoning in this circumstance. I can explain to you why we had to have the baby in this particular tax thing to get this other thing because these other states rely on it. Again, this goes to like fucking Vermont and Arizona. Bernie Sanders and Kristen Sinema at one point were against this broad-based plan to help with community colleges across the country because they wanted more money for their states. It would have lowered the amount for their states because they were getting more from the federal government than everybody else. Because there's University of Arizona and Vermont has all these community colleges that they've paid for internally using federal dollars, and they've worked this out over the years. And that if it evened out and they got the same as everybody else, it would go down for them. It would raise everybody else's, but fuck that. They don't represent the United States. They represent Vermont and Arizona. But if you ask them, Bernie Sanders is a fucking communist who's for the entire country. Bullshit. Dude's to the right of Hillary Clinton on gun rights, on gun regulations. And it's okay. Because if he's going to stay elected in Vermont, he's going to have to be. And I would rather have him in there than a Republican alternative who always votes with the Trumps of the world. So, to make sure he's in that position and to make sure that we don't have a Republican in the seat in Arizona as well, you got to play ball with these assholes. Or they won't get elected again. And then you'll have to deal with somebody who doesn't deal at all. And that's how we get where we are. Meantime, if I may, let's see. Can I sidestep one of these things since we did a whole Trump thing? Because I honestly, one of the things that you see in the right adjacent left, the horseshoe crowd, like this dickhead, like Jimmy Dore, ultimate tool of control, which I think is a device he and Kurt sell to support the show. Government to monitor you through electronic tattoos with German politician Christine Anderson. So the government is going to give us a German politician is telling us that the government is going to give us electronic tattoos so that we all have the mark of the beast. This is the kind of programming you do when you realize that you're responsible for how badly the government has shit the bed and how poor people are going to be fucked, that you participated in helping Donald Trump get elected. So you got to start talking about, well, I mean, the cabal, the pentaveret, the fucking Illuminati runs everything.
Trump country is booming. We're building,
by the way,
hiring, and winning.
This is an ad
because
on Jimmy's channel.
Today I'm going to show you how to make the pink salt trick.
I don't want to see the pink. It's gross. I will not.
Is work with them to advance a tattoo that could be used for authentication.
Let me show you a video of Regina Dugan. Now, the
electronic tattoo with missing a T. You can't get in without it. Lord help us. Dr. Jane Ruby
is the former
wearables.
director of Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. That's at DARPA, which is a military defense establishment here in the United States. Listen.
It's an establishment. Establishment being a bad word. So you mean it's an organization? It's a department of the government. It's a part of the Defense Department.
What she said most recently. This is chilling.
A means of authentication that you could simply wear on your skin
Wear on your skin. That's a sticker. She's got a sticker.
every day for a week at a time, say an electronic tattoo. Now,
Wear for a week at a time. Say an electronic tattoo. Okay, an electronic tattoo. I wasn't harmed. Do you notice that was a sticker? It was a temporary thing that you would wear during a period of time. It probably would dissolve, is what they're talking about. Again, he's pulling this out of nowhere, but let's just go with it. This is a horrifying advance in global control, whatever.
we're talking about wearables. Everybody's interested in I'm profoundly interested in wearables.
That would be Apple Watches, Oura Rings, necklaces, fit trackers, shit like that.
And what I will tell you is that we've made a lot of advances in wearables, but there's still some fundamental problems that we haven't solved. Like one of them is the mechanical mismatch between humans and electronics, right? So electronics are boxy and rigid, humans are curvy and soft. That's a mechanical mismatch problem. Well, a researcher at the University of Illinois, his name is Dr. Rogers, what he discovered is
he used to be Mr. Rogers, but he was too nice, so.
that he could use standard CMOS techniques to make islands of high-performance silicon connected by accordion-like structures that would allow it to stretch up to 200% and still be performing. And what he did is he founded a company, and they started making electronic tattoos. So I'm wearing one here on my arm.
Do we have
here.
She's wearing one. She's got one. Right there. It's already happening. Whatever it is, I don't know. She's wearing one on her arm. What? Yeah, it's a fucking TED Talky kind of electronics. Probably a CNET.
Camera to get a.
This is a developmental system made by MC10, and it has an antenna and some sensors embedded in it. And what we plan to
It has an antenna and a sensor, so clearly they can read your thoughts.
do is work with them to advance a tattoo that could be used for authentication. Now, it may be true that
that's the problem for Jimmy, because one thing he fears is being authentic. Wait a minute, they'll be able to tell that I'm full of shit? Oh my God, they'll have a bullshit tattoo on me.
10 to 20-year-olds don't want to wear a watch on their wrist, but you can be sure that they'll be far more interested in wearing an electronic tattoo, if only to piss off their parents. Right?
And that can have a design, right? Because
Sure.
they would certainly want some kind of cool design.
Options. And that's something that you wear, but you could also imagine including authentication in just your daily habits. So I take a vitamin every morning. What if I could take vitamin authentication?
What?
Vitamin authentication. Look, I have one right here. Well, here, I'll let you hold it. Would you like to hold it?
I'll hold it.
Okay. So this,
You guys see it?
this pill has a small chip inside of it with a switch.
All he's doing, huh? You're going to swallow a chip, and then what happens? You can't just swallow just one. That's these Lay's super chips.
It also has what amounts to an inside-out potato battery. When
Really
you
small.
swallow it, the acids in your stomach serve as the electrolyte,
That's what I do.
and they power it up, and the switch goes on and off. And it creates an 18-bit ECG-like signal in your body, and essentially your entire body becomes your authentication token. Yes, this is true.
People are applauding it.
Okay, but
Okay, so
They should be panicked.
okay, so it's really true. So what this means is that becomes my first superpower. I really want this superpower. It means that my arms are like wires, my hands are like alligator clips. When I touch my phone, my computer, my door, my car, I'm authenticated in. First superpower. Like, I want that.
So we're not shipping that right away.
Yeah, no, we're not shipping that right away. But it sounds like
this is FDA cleared?
So here's the thing. This is not science fiction. This pill was actually made by a company called Proteus, and they've developed.
I love how like Jimmy's whole thing is just play this and stare at us all like Skynet is here.
Developed it for medical applications. That pill has been CE stamped and cleared by the FDA. You can take 30 of those per day for the rest of your life.
So that seems chilling, and the people there are giggling and applauding it. And this is what every quote unquote conspiracy theorist has been warning against for years. And here they are on stage bragging about that they have this technology. They're going to put chips inside your pills, so then you become a trans. That's the first step into transhumanism, as far as.
Yes, which is what Donald Trump thinks means transgender for everybody. He doesn't understand what transhumanism means. Okay, but I love techno panic, so let's see.
I'm concerned they're going to put tattoos on you with antennas so they can tell who. So this.
No, they're not going to put it on you. You're going to put it on you. This is the idea that you won't need keys in the future, that when you get a car or something like that, you can wear a temporary tattoo if you get a job so they can take it away. You know, they don't want it to be permanent because if you get fired, they don't want you to be able to use your little scan point to get in, and you don't have to carry anything anymore. The other thing, too, is if you've got a disease and you have to, a big part of this is that, like, you know how they monitor people's blood sugar with those little attachments that you can see, the little white patch? Okay, they're trying to make those smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller so that they eventually are, borderline invisible for people, so that you don't have them bumping against your clothes, falling off, coming loose or whatever, and that they are better at that. Okay. The other thing is these swallowables lets you know if you've taken a medication. Now, one of the primary reasons for this is because when it comes to insurance and people taking a medication like an antipsychotic, for example, that people saying, I've been taking my meds, and then they don't, and you can't tell. So they don't know if the med isn't working or if the person just isn't taking it. In these particular instances where you have court-ordered medications, they would use this, so that they know that you've taken it and it's dissolved and whatever. The other thing you could do, and again, the extension of this is that you basically would give off a pulse signal that would allow you to open all your doors, and you could take one that's specific to that. This is largely science fiction because it would last the length of your digestive process. And if you drank a bunch of alcohol, it would stop working. Like if you got drunk that night or you ate something like spicy food, it would destroy it. It wouldn't work because it needs your system to work. Right. So the idea that, again, they'd be better off just taking the chips you see in like science fiction movies, that are the little pills that would just wrapped in some sort of plastic that would just make it through your digestive tract. You'd be better off just having that thing, go through your system until you shit it out than try to make these things work that way. But again, the panic of this, the idea that somehow they are going to do this to us is the part that I'm enjoying.
Sounds like some kind of Orwellian nightmare. What do you say to this?
Well, that is actually very dangerous technology.
Unlike guns or nuclear weapons, or what was that thing called? Fire, right?
Because the point is simply this. What if you do not fall in line? I'm pretty sure with a flip of a switch, they can just turn it off, and you cease to exist.
Well, you mean like Doge is doing right now with the help of Jimmy Dore?
When your entire existence is based upon you having to authenticate yourself with some kind of a chip, and that chip gets turned off, then you no longer exist.
Right, but then also, so would their entire control matrix of you. If they turn it off, you're off grid, motherfucker. And the idea that they would have, like, like absolute control of everyone, or who the they is. That's the other thing too, is that's why you want to live in the United States and places or Europe where they have fundamental privacy rights in these situations. It's not us that has to worry about it so much. We might use it in a kind of, I don't know, like in a consumer-based way, whereas other countries like Iran or China or Russia, for that matter, would use it as an on their citizenry. But how is that different from the current surveillance stuff we have in the United States? Like right now, we have red light cameras. And everybody was like, that's going to lead to surveillance and control. When in reality, you can use it to fight back on a ticket as much as you can get one, right? Because it's on camera. It's an intersection. You have proof of it. Meanwhile, the cameras at the intersections of, on streets in Beijing, for example, are there to film everyone all the time, not watch for crimes. It matters who runs things. What they're trying to tell you in this particular instance, it doesn't matter who runs things. There's somebody behind them and somebody behind them and somebody behind them.
And then what we actually would have is dead men walking in reality.
What? Dead men walking in reality. Oh, you mean like Doge has made people move them to the dead list and they're still alive? Like we have right now?
You would be...
Because Jimmy helped Trump get elected?
Literally a dead man.
You would not literally be a dead person. You wouldn't be literally dead. You'd be figuratively dead or economically dead or I guess, systemically, governmentally dead. But you wouldn't be... You'd be alive.
Yet you are not really dead.
Yes, that's why you wouldn't be literally dead.
But you would be for everyone else. You would...
No. I think they'd still be able to see you. I don't think you'd become invisible.
Be able to buy anything. You wouldn't be able to open the front door of your own house. You would.
Sure, you could. I mean, everybody's got a foot. Also, this is. I think we're just falling into Mark of the Beast territory.
You wouldn't be able to do anything anymore. You're literally.
I don't know about you, but I don't need authentication to get it on.
Dead man walking. Well, yeah. Why don't we try that? Seriously? No. This is the ultimate tool to control every single human being. And
no, it isn't. No, I'm going to go with some sort of DARPA ray that makes us all think. I would go with Neuralink before I worry about this shit. And also, does the company give you a pill every day that allows you to move around inside the building, and open doors and shit? And then when you shit it out at the end of the night, you have to show up for work and they have to give you another pill and you have to swallow it every day that you work there? Or they just give you a fucking pass key? If you're working at DARPA, though, I can understand how they'd want to authenticate it that way. Good Lord. Thank you, CSL. And we'll do an AMA in a second because we made our goal, and I appreciate that as soon as I'm done with this nonsense.
You don't even have to be close to that human being, near that human being. You just, flip of a switch and boom, he's gone.
Yeah, but that's true of your social security number. If Doge gets a hold of it, they can erase you'll be financially dead. That's the worry about this shit. And it's happening right now. And you don't have to have a fucking chip to do it. Meanwhile, also, I think Jimmy and Kurt are big Elon Musk fucking fans, right? And Musk is the guy who can turn your car off from his desk while you're driving it.
So this is
scary.
This is their way to disappear.
Their way. They, them.
Your people. And that make you a non-person.
and up till now, all Jimmy had was his personality.
Right?
Exactly.
This all the bad terms we've heard, they're bragging about right now on stage in front of a camera, and you have.
Yeah, why aren't they keeping it a giant secret where they're going to force it on everybody? Gee, it might be because it's a consumer good and it passed the FDA because there's a limited use functionality and it's not permanent. And if it was permanent, they would have to have a special thing of it. And it matters who runs things because if you don't want this kind of shit to get more and more awful, don't put the Stephen Millers of the world in charge.
An auditorium full of people giggling and applauding it. Yeah. And what this means is that, we have to raise people's consciousness to push back against this because this.
Somebody's starting to sound like Russell Brand.
This is their agenda. This is really what they want. Total control of you. And
exactly.
This is the kind of stuff people worry about when they have meetings.
What if real quick, What if, okay, so authentication, all you need is a pill to do it, allegedly, and it makes your fucking mitochondria wiggle, and that'll allow you to go through doors. What if I just knock somebody over the head and take their pills? What if I just, somebody works at a company, I don't have, instead of grabbing their badge or a set of keys, thump, I take their pill, I throw it in, and I swallow it, and then I'm able to go anywhere I want because I've taken this pill and they think that person is in the building. Or what if I cut off this little piece of their flesh and just pull the tattoo, put it on my own skin, and now I can go anywhere? Where's the control matrix in that? How do they shut me off if for all they know, I'm that other person? Again, these so far, what you're talking about here are all temporary, right?
At the WEF, and this is the kind of
okay, World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab. This is where Jimmy gets into his Glenn Beck era
stuff that the handful of global billionaires are actually
working
on, and it's all about control, and it's got nothing to do with safety or your personal freedom or making your life better.
No, they just want everybody marching. They got a fetish for uniforms, and they want everybody walking in lines. They love line dancing, anything. It's not about safety and security. Yeah. And believe me, I have no interest in Peter Thiel controlling anybody's life or whatever. But what this asshole is doing has nothing to do with the facts or the concepts technologically they're talking about right here. This is his way of distracting from. It's not that I talked you into voting for Trump and he's in the middle of gutting Medicaid. We shouldn't be talking about this. There's a big fucking conspiracy thing happening out there where they're going to make you swallow a fucking chip. There is a purpose to this bullshittery. The value of this bullshit from his standpoint is first of all, conspiracies are always fascinating, always good clickbait, but it'll also distract from the fact that he participated in the situation we find ourselves in right fucking now. Where can I purchase Housebark's energy supplements? I'll take 2. It's really, Larry, it's just it's passion that lights me up. Thanks very much.
It's about being able to, they flip a switch and they can then turn off your bank account, which we saw them do. We saw them do in Canada.
Yes, this is all part of Canada's big plot to control the world. And they didn't shut off their bank accounts. They had external forces sending money in to these groups of truckers that were blocking roads, which is not organic protest. Because if you and I wanted to protest, we wouldn't have a giant big rig to block a road with or coordinate with other people with big rigs to block those roads, right? We would just have to stand there like an asshole, but these guys could use giant pieces of machinery. But you got to pay for gas on those things. You got to move them, and you got to be able to, gather them together. So that coordination money and the fuel money and all that kind of stuff was coming from outside the country. That's why they froze it.
When the truckers protested, and they were correct, by the way, they were on the right side. And
says who? What if they were on the wrong side and they just had trucks? So fuck you. I mean, what if you were on the right side and you didn't have a truck? How about this? What if you and your wife were headed to the fucking hospital because she was in labor and the road was blocked by a bunch of truckers who thought they were right? Now, in a situation where it's blocked by people that didn't have giant big rigs, they would block the road and you would kind of honk and go, "My wife is pregnant, please let us through." And they would part and let you get through. But these trucks just fucking sat there. And there you are, jammed up in traffic while she goes into labor, and there you have it. But they were right, and they had trucks.
In fact, court agreed with them, and they were able to flip a switch and turn off their bank account, so now they can't travel, they can't pay their mortgage, they can't buy gas.
Nope. All of them had their regular bank accounts and their jobs. The only bank accounts that were turned off were their organizational bank accounts, the stuff that was for the organization of these protests, because there was foreign money coming in.
They can't buy a plane ticket. They can't pay their electricity.
They all were able to buy plane tickets and pay unless they were only working for that organization and not as actual truckers.
Electricity bill, they can't do anything. And so this is even worse because this makes you, everything's, they can switch off your whole body. There's no way you can get around that.
Sorry. They can switch off your whole body. There's no way you can get around that. I can't wait to hear this when it's distilled down into a TED Talk.
And it's scarier than I ever could have imagined. And there they are,
I don't know about you, but maybe that's a lacking of imagination. I can imagine a lot scarier shit. Like, I mean, why wouldn't you go with just, how about this? An injection that has a bioreactive technology in it that can shut off your nervous system, that it operates as a pesticide that only triggers when you go in the wrong place. So if you try to walk through the wrong door, you have a seizure and die. I just imagined that. That'd be worse than, oh shit, I can't have access to my money in future world. All right.
The fact that they're brazenly bragging about it like it's penicillin is mind-boggling.
Yeah, and it's also interesting, as you were saying.
It is interesting.
They were giggling about it, It's like, they make it sound so, joy, the word joy comes back to mind, like, what Kamala Harris was trying to do with her campaign, bring back the joy.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so, sorry, because Kamala Harris was focused on joy, that aligns her with the cabal that wants to tattoo us all and shut off our lives if we don't behave, control matrix. Yeah, that's what it reminds me of. Yeah, excellent.
There is nothing joyful about enslaving human beings.
Well, then why did humanity do it for so long? And why is it still legal in, the majority of the countries in the world? It had to at least be fun. I mean, I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum, and BDSM is, again, you do you, boo.
Not even.
I'm of course joking. Jimmy doesn't give a shit about the Uyghurs and thinks that China's better than us because of what they do to the Uyghurs.
And have them understand and realize that they're being enslaved, right? But
yeah, that's right. Most of us don't even realize it till the spanking starts.
Yeah, that's how they do it. It's so joyful.
This is how we do it.
And, the teenagers, they will want that just to piss off their parents, that kind of attitude. That's exactly how they're getting these people to actually go ahead and do it. Oh, if it's cool, if it'll piss off my parents, let's have it.
Yeah, that's the tool of control of the future. Is they're gonna commodify rebellion. Gee, where have I heard? You mean like basically? Let me see if I get this right. They'll talk people into being so anti-establishment that they'll destroy the structures of their own freedom. Gee, where have I heard that before? Maybe Jimmy's just mad because it's a violation of it's like IP theft for him.
Make it sound fun. They make it sound joyful. It's not. This is actually.
How do you know it's not? I mean, we haven't done it. I'm just saying.
Actually, dehumanizing. It's the worst kind of totalitarianism you can.
No, I can imagine worse totalitarianism. I really can. I mean, I'm not for any kind of totalitarianism, but if you're saying there's a sliding scale, Hal put a mustache on her. Yeah, there is a bit of a get in flank, right? I don't know. I just wouldn't go with that cut. I wouldn't. 99999.
Actually, imagine, given the technological means they have at their disposal already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This isn't even the cool shit.
Once we do slip in, and go fully totalitarian. I mean.
Yes, that's how we do it. First totalitarianism plays just the tip with you, and then they fully slip in.
We're no longer talking about just 40 years of Eastern Germany. We're not talking about 70 years Soviet Union. We will be talking about a very, very long time if we will be have a chance to ever get out of it ever again. That remains to be seen. So we need to fight this now, and we need to expose it now. Because
I real quick, they're talking about these things on stage openly. They're explaining what they are and the companies that make them and every aspect of it. So exposing it doesn't seem to be the issue. I think what you mean is warn people that there's a slippery slope or something like that. But if they're already telling, this isn't it. Maybe we've just moved past the idea that, oh my God, they're going to put a chip in us via vaccines. We got to let everybody know. So that didn't work because it was all bullshit. So now it's like, the stuff that you're doing voluntarily, that's terrible. You can't use the Starbucks app to buy beverages on your phone. What if your battery dies? Then you'll die of thirst, right? That's again, like, we can't have a fiat currency. We have to trade in gold because only people with gold should be able to trade.
It has nothing to do with living as a human being. You would actually be, degraded to just like a functioning part in some kind of a malleable mass that the globalitarian.
That sounds naughty.
Misanthropists get to shove.
So it's just a big writhing pile of humanity, and we're all just an oiled up part of it, just slithering. Actually, can I? What kind of past tattoo do you need to get into that party?
Around any which way they desire.
That, she says, gives you a superpower. It actually gives the government a superpower.
So Dr. Jane Ruby says, this bitch is DARPA. Google's Regina Dugan is the former director of the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. Okay. And that's a sticker, right?
It gives the oligarchs a superpower to turn you off and to make you a non-person and to disappear you and to take your access,
even though you would still exist,
away from freedom, to take your access away from your access to your money.
Well, I look, I understand the money thing. The freedom part is going to be difficult because you kind of be more free because you'd be completely off grid. I mean, if you can make people on and off the grid that easy, then you undermine the value of the grid itself, right?
Which is access to your freedom, your ability to travel, your ability to live. They can shut you out of your own car, your own house, your own bank accounts. And it's not a superpower for you. It's a superpower for the oligarchs and the establishment. And
for the establishment, which is beyond the establishment, because you would establish an organization to stop this kind of overreach. But if you undermine the established systems we put together, like our political parties, our governments themselves, and just say, well, so what's the fucking difference? And there's no value to them at all. When this shit kind of comes, who's there to stop it or slow it down?
Jane Ruby tweeted out a picture of what one of those tattoos look like.
Right, because it's not a secret.
There it is.
Yes, it's a sticker. She showed it on her arm. She was wearing it.
It's at temperature sensors, strain gauges, an LED, wireless power, wireless communication oscillator, wireless antenna. This is what they're calling a tattoo.
Even though it's a sticker.
That they're going to put on your body.
Which would be a sticker.
And this is supposed to be a superpower for you.
Yeah, it's a super sticker. By the way, we have super stickers. I think it's a great way to donate to the show, if I'm not mistaken. Aren't they called super stickers in the thing? Yeah, okay.
It's anything but. It's a superpower. It's chains to make you a slave.
Yes, it's just a stick. It's just like chains, except it's a sticker. And if only chains were as easy to take off as a sticker. And what if you took your sticker off and stuck it on somebody else? Then what?
The establishment and the oligarchs. It's a superpower for the oligarchs and the establishment, not for you.
Dun, dun, dun. You tell them, Jimmy. The establishment and the oligarchs are the same people, unless you establish a political party to push back against that, and then assholes like this say there's really no difference, so why even try? And then I guess if they have to set up a situation where they have to chip everybody, it's because democracy has failed, because nobody's participating anymore, because people listen to assholes like this. It's weird. All right, there we go.
Hey, come see us on...
No, I'm not going to come see you. That's not going to happen. Oh, my God. The sticker, can it be a kinky superpower? Aren't they all? Remember, kids, a superhero is just a monster that's on your side. Hold on. So I want to look at, we'll do an AMA now. Feel free. Thank you guys for the super chats. We met our goal. So if you have any questions, I would love to hear who are the establishment. I happen to be the establishment, just in case you're wondering. I'm also the deep state. So anytime you hear anybody being, blaming the deep state, it's on me. Just come and ask me what I was planning on doing, and I will tell you what the establishment wants and what the establishment is attempting to do. Glad to do it. Anytime you need. So there you go. Cats, please. Cats, please. Minority Report has them scared. Yeah. Anybody? I don't know. I just don't have as many guilty thoughts as this dumb motherfucker, I guess. Look, I believe that you have to be Seth Gruber. Okay, this is the. Yeah, where would this be? Seth Gruber International. At Seth Gruber Official. I'm going to look up this. I want to look up the video for this. I am the deep state. Yes, I'm able to shut Jimmy off and make him disappear. Official. This would be, I guess, Young America. As generation curses we fail to break. Are there a conversation about abortion? Seth Gruber. The leading voice of the leading voice of the pro-life movement. That's who this dude is. He's from the 1916 Project at your church, and yeah. So this is the guy. I want to show you this. This is the guy who put out the video that that Jimmy was just showing. Seth Gruber. The son of a pregnancy resource center director, Seth Gruber was helping save unborn children from abortion while still in his mother's womb. He's been a voice and a defender. What the fuck? For preborn babies ever since, as a leading voice in the pro-life movement. Seth has spoken more than 300 times to over 500,000 people. He's the host of the Seth Gruber Show, Unaborted with Seth Gruber, and travels as a speaker to educate the public. He goes inspired the church to end the great evil of our time, which would be this or whatever. He's got events and that kind of stuff, and then he. You can book him to come do your shit or whatever to push your stool in if you want at one of these events. He's at the Brave Church and then Freedom Conference and then the Calvary in Tucson and then Grace Woodlands. And he's a touring preacher. So he gets paid to go church to church. So that's the video that Jimmy pulled from, was this Seth Gruber Official. And then German politician Christine Anderson. The woman she's talking about, hold on, I'm trying to find the post that he has about this. Regina Dugan. Hold on. Okay, Regina Dugan. Whoops. Let's see. Dugan, tattoo, implant, chip, something like that. I don't know. We'll find it out there. Regina Dugan, the Mark of the Beast. Yeah, Regina Dugan and Dennis Woods, the full DA11 say, okay, this is from the Wall Street Journal. Okay, so what they were watching, let me put this out here real quick. And there's an ad up right now, so give me a second. Skip forward, you stupid thing. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, so this is this is from the Wall Street Journal. They put this thing together.
We're putting our new BioFreeze Ultra.
Well, don't do it. I just had.
Patch
I'll just show it. All right. Hold on 1 second. I'm not doing free ads for someone. When I don't get them myself. Hold on. I thought this was playing properly, but we'll see. Okay, there we go. And then this. Play, you silly thing. Seems to be loading. This is the video that he was allegedly talking about. Play already, you rat. Oh, hold on. Maybe I'll shrink it down. Close caption, turned on. Seal this down. And play. Full D11 session was the thing. Motorola is looking to get back to category-defining roots. Speaking at D11, Motorola head Dennis Woodside talked with its next-gen Moto X phone, and Regina Dugan showed off electronics tattoos and ingestible passwords. That's what she's talking about. All right, I don't know why it's not loading. I will find another. Hold on, D11. I'm gonna grab this and see if I can find it on YouTube as a thing. But I will continue to answer your questions. BioFreeze is actually good stuff. Oh, that's good to know. I hope so. Let's see if it's in here. Regina Dugan thread show D11. I can't believe it's not Regina Dugan. D11. There we go. This has got to be a clip of this. Yeah, there we go. D11. There's all things done. This will be the chip and part of here. All things digital. This is it.
look, I joined the Scrappy Underdog team. I like that environment. And I'll tell you, we got to do a lot of epic shit when I was at DARPA. And it was clear that I wanted to do more of that. And so I'll tell you a little story of my second interaction with Dennis.
This would be epic shit from DARPA. All right, here we go.
Something like
Hal's doing this because we're still dealing with Trump. Yes.
like this. He said he was very polite, and he said, we've decided to go with somebody from the mobile industry to lead our innovation efforts, somebody who's very experienced in the industry, and this is the basic strategy that we have planned. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, what do you think about that? And I said, I think that's a great strategy for not losing and a lousy strategy for winning. And a week later...
Damn. This chick is hot.
I had a job.
But
let me tell you why. The reason is that what that conversation taught me, what it convinced me of.
My motto is fart operated. Okay, your motto is fart operated. I was like, I feel like it's a good motto as well. Yeah.
Was that this company was serious about that activity, was serious about challenging the status quo and taking their underdog status and turning it into real innovation for the next generation. So I went. We challenge everything, not just about the projects we're doing, but how we're doing innovation. What I told Dennis that day was, look, the strategy that most companies employ for their breakthrough innovations is decades out of date, and it needs to be updated. It's a World War II linear strategy that goes from basic research to applied research to productization and commercialization, and we need to do it differently. We learned how to do it at DARPA. We're going to bring it to industry, and it's going to have implications for mobile, and it will have cascading implications for the country's competitiveness too. Let's do it.
And what is it? What is the process?
So what we do is we take very inspired, technically competent program leads, and we intersect big science with a driving application. That was the cauldron of activity that resulted in DARPA from Sputnik's early days. And we said, with that activity, a big science activity and a big driving application, well, you have a really bold initiatives, right? And it's counterintuitive to many people because they think with the increased risk that comes with that, you actually yield results less often. But that's not been my experience. In fact, when you take on a really bold vision like that, what happens is you yield results more often, right?
Okay, so she's talking about like whatever. This is a short part of this, like an 8-minute version of this. I'm wondering if they get to the chip part that she's discussing that they jumped to, because my guess is they did a full talk. Yeah, here you go. So this is what she actually said during this part of it.
Techniques to make islands of high-performance silicon connected by accordion-like structures that would allow it to stretch up to 200% and still be performing. And
which, by the way, is what you will need if you want to fix paralysis in human beings that don't have the ability to regrow spinal tissue or nerve tissue.
What he did is he founded a company, and they started making electronic tattoos. So I'm wearing one here on my arm.
Do we have a camera to get a...
This is a developmental system made by MC10, and it has an antenna.
Which is like the big band version of MC5. Kick out the jams, mother truckers!
Some sensors embedded in it, and what we plan to do is work with them to advance.
To insert it into everyone's rectum every time they go to the doctor, and they'll update it, and if you ever go against the system, we will shut your butthole. And then what will you do? Death by constipation.
It's a tattoo that could be used for authentication. Now, it may be true that 10 to 20-year-olds don't want to wear a watch on their wrist, but you can be sure that they'll be far more interested in wearing an electronic tattoo, if only to piss off their parents. Right?
And that can have a design, right? Because they would certainly want...
Yeah, I would clearly want a skull with a snake coming out of the eyeball.
Some kind of cool design.
Options. And that's something that you wear, but you could also imagine including authentication in just your daily habits. So I take a vitamin every morning. What if I could take vitamin authentication?
What?
Vitamin authentication. Look, I have one right here. Well, here, I'll let you hold it. Would you like to hold it?
I'll hold it.
Okay. So This,
You guys see it?
this pill has a small chip inside of it with a switch. It also has what amounts to an inside-out potato battery. When
Really
you
small.
swallow it, the acids in your stomach serve as the electrolyte.
That's what I do.
Yeah, again, would it be harder to steal somebody's keys than to just have one of their pills? Like, if you could get access to somebody like, oh, and while that's in my system, I have access to all your shit for 24 hours. Right? Yes, and it is a sticker, not a tattoo. I made that point earlier, chat room, and I appreciate Joe and others pointing this out. Yeah. Yeah, just chop their arm off. If it was a tattoo, maybe. Yeah, I mean, there's... but, like, what if you walked by a place... like, if you're wearing one of those and automatically, like, all the speakers just went... You know what I mean? Like, what if it just triggered that everywhere you... Or if, like, we put one of those stickers on Trump, and every time he walked into a building that had speakers, they would go...
Dum, 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 dum. Dum, dum, stupid. Dumb, silly, stupid, dumb, dumb.
Every time he walked in and out of a door, right? Genius. Okay, I want to see what the panic attack on this is.
And they power it up, and the switch goes on and off.
Yummy.
And it creates an
Is it available in suppository form? Sorry.
18-bit
Not sorry.
ECG-like signal in your body, and essentially your entire body becomes your authentication token. Yes, this is true. Okay?
Okay, but...
Okay, so wait.
But, he said it, not me. But... Authentically gay.
I love that feeling. Super hoods have got the goods. Owie, owie, oh. Butts and thongs and vests and thongs.
Stupid tattoo.
Super hoods have got the goods. Owie, owie, oh. Boink, boink, doobie-doo. You know what I wanna do. Gay. Boink, boink, doobie-doo. You know what I wanna do. Butt stuff.
It's... But stuff. All right. But, no pun intended.
So it's really true. So what this means is that becomes my first superpower. I really want this superpower. It means that my arms are like wires, my hands are like alligator clips. When I touch my phone, my computer, my door, my car, I'm authenticated in. First superpower. Like, I want that.
So we're not shipping that right away.
Yeah, no. We're not shipping that right away.
She's got it already. I guarantee there are people that she works with, and especially DARPA folks.
But it sounds like...
This is FDA cleared?
So here's the thing. This is not science fiction. This pill was actually made by a company called Proteus, and they've developed it for medical applications. That pill has been CE stamped and cleared by the FDA. You can take 30 of those per day for the rest of your life.
And then what happens? Does your heart
Nothing.
beat change? Does your...
We can just tell that
you-
you've taken the pill. I mean, the medical
Yeah.
the medical
Does
application...
Google now know everything I do and everywhere I go? Because, let's face it,
Here, can
we like
just-
you guys, but you're from Google.
Just give him some water and let him take that
so
pill
I-
right now.
Thanks.
Maybe Dennis. Dennis, let me ask you. Does Larry make you take one of these?
It's optional. So we
optional.
so we actually have demoed this working and authenticating a phone.
Yeah.
So this isn't like total.
It actually
science fiction.
does authenticate.
And again, this
Well,
isn't.
there's a lot of
this
work to
isn't-
do, yeah.
This isn't stuff that's going to ship anytime soon. But I think having the boldness to think differently about
Right. Yeah,
about
think
problems
differently
that
about-
everybody has every day.
Sure. Yeah, and the problem you have every day is that you'll forget who doesn't forget their keys more often than they forget to take their pill, or vice versa. What that is for, by the way, just so you know, is that there are people who legally have to take a pill because they have, they're antipsychotics or stuff like that. or they forget to do it because they've got early stage Alzheimer's or dementia. And if they don't take it, somebody needs to know, and they can't just take it by shaking the fucking pill bottle. A good example of people who had to be on a pill regimen and had somebody else walk for them was Chris Cornell from Soundgarden and Audioslave. He accidentally took 2 of his pills for like depression and anxiety, and because he took 2 of them, you could argue that that's what drove him to kill himself, because he forgot that he had taken his pill, and then the person in charge of making sure he took his pill gave him another one. Whereas if your pill had that in it, an app on your phone local to you could tell you, okay, yes, you took it this morning, you don't need another one, or because of the food you ate, your pill you've cycled through the dose, and so you'd need another one, right? That would happen as well, okay? So, let's see, hold on one second. Proteus, pill, chip, something like that. Proteus Digital Health developed a digital pill system that includes an ingestible sensor embedded with a medication. This sensor, composed of a silicone chip coated with minerals, sends a signal to a patch worn on the body after ingestion. Okay, so you have to wear that secondary thing for it to transmit it to a mobile app. This technology aims to improve medication adherence and patient outcomes by tracking when medications are taken. The first FDA-approved drug with this technology was Abilify, Mycite, used for treating schizophrenia and depression. That's so you take it, you don't forget to take it, and also you don't overtake it. Same thing would be true of opioids, right? That if someone's taking more of the opioid, let's say, well, okay, this is a good example. What if oxycodone, Oxycontin, and all the other opioids that are out there that get assigned to people had one of these in it, had a chip in it that says if you take more than one, we know. We're going to give you 10 of these, but you got to take them all. And you got to take them in the regular dose over the next couple of days. But you can't take 2 and don't take 5 and just take the ones we gave you. And so they know that you're adhering to this because it's a controlled substance. It's not aspirin. It's not sinus medication. It's something that you could get addicted to and that's fucked up. So wouldn't that be a good thing? Just saying. If they're going to give you these kind of drugs and they're addictive in the first place, better than not giving them to you at all and you just have to deal with the pain, right? Okay. Also, can I show you something else that I find particularly funny? Yeah, there we go. Can I show you the cutting edge? Can I please? Can I show you the can I show you the cutting edge part of this story? About this? What if they don't take it? Well, that's exactly it too. You could say I didn't take it and I don't need to take it, but it would let them know that you didn't take it if it was a pain drug. But if you don't, they can at least, if you're ordered to take your schizophrenia medication or whatever, or they're aware that, okay, if you don't, you might snap and kill somebody. That's what this was for. But hell, we're supposed to be afraid because they are going to control us. It's all about control. Hell, there is nothing that will stop them from controlling us. Fuck me. Proteus Digital Health, maker of an ingestible sensor for tracking medication adherence, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection yesterday. The news comes months after word that the company had furloughed much of its staff, reassessed its high-profile partnership with Otsuka Pharmaceutical, and shifted away from its primary focus of mental disorder treatment. The smart pill maker indicated that the filing was between $100 million and $500 million in estimated assets and between $50 million and $100 million in estimated liabilities. The company also reported between 200 and 999 estimated creditors. Top among them were PREI's Westbrook Office Park, that was, I guess, they owe for the building, Romanco and Otsuka Pharmaceutical, and Workday. In addition, Andrew Thompson has stepped back from his role as CEO. Lawrence Perkins of Sierra Constellation Partners, who had previously been retained as the company's chief restructuring officer, has now been appointed by Proteus board as its interim CEO. Now, that article, the Proteus thing, is from 2020. Yeah. That article is from 2020. Okay? This motherfucker just made this video yesterday. You don't think you could have looked up that the company that in the video that they're referencing from this older video it went out of business? And then also the idea that a wearable would be a skin wearable versus a fucking watch. That, by the way, since it's a sticker, you could pull it the fuck off, just like you could take off your watch or drop your phone or take off your Oura ring or whatever else you're wearing. All right, sorry. Back to the AMA digital pill, right? Yeah, it's 5 years old. Silly. Such a yeah. He's very current. Yes, he doesn't realize he swallowed a chip, and every time he walks someplace, it goes
dumb, stupid, dumb, silly, stupid, dumb, dumb, dopey, dippy, dumb, dumb, stupid, really dumb, moron.
Dumb, dumb, stupid, dumb, silly, stupid, dumb, dumb, dopey, dippy, dumb, dumb, stupid, really dumb, moron.
All right. Fucking hell. Hal, you're expecting Jimmy to work. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm simply using my time positively to mock the very concept that anybody would trust something that he says or think that he cares enough to actually check his fucking work if he's talking about serious shit. Because I'm here to tell you, medical privacy and the future of digital and technological privacy is a very serious topic, and we're all going to have to confront it as it comes in a bunch of very complex ways. And believe me, the next wave is going to be an AI that flags shit in terms of service, right? That kind of stuff. And we're going to need to deal with that. It's not a bad idea. Here's a good idea. Grab your terms of service sometimes and throw it into ChatGPT or one of them that you use, whatever one, and go, hey, is there any parts of this that should stand out as problematic to me that allows them to use my data when I think I've opted out of it? You know, even if it gives me that, is there anything that I should look out for? And then we're all going to go, oh, shit. And then that will become viral because one of them, you know, none of us have time to read the whole thing, but this would pick it out for us, right? And then what? Then they have to adapt those things. And you got to handle it on a case-by-case basis. And then you go to Congress and you go, hey, we need to pass a law because, you know, somebody's going to be tracking all my shit, and you'll find strange bedfellows in all this stuff. You're going to find a bunch of people like that are, you know, like left-wing hippies that want to be off the fucking grid, and you're going to find a bunch of like Christians who think it's the mark of the beast and all that shit, right? You gotta deal with that stuff. But you're not going to deal with it with this fucking moronic panic attack bullshit that he's doing. This, like, it's idiotic. So, health insurance is a tax. Try getting medical attention without it. Medicare for all. I agree in some ways, although, I think medical insurance is a tax. Yeah. But it's almost like you're saying that like taxes are bad. Taxes are how a democratic society shows its priorities, right? Because I would argue that, that would be a good like springboard in that if medical care is a right, whose responsibility is it? If it's a right and it has to be provided by a person, whose responsibility is it? Is it someone else's responsibility to go to medical school and become a doctor to work for free because you have a right to see a doctor? These are real questions because we got to figure out how we're going to incentivize and pay people to go into the difficult areas and how we're going to make it worth their while and recognize the work that they put in and the study and how important it is and get more people, right? Unless we got robot doctors, which I'm totally here for, right? Yeah, taxes pay for stuff. That's right. That's a priority for it. That's why we don't have socialism, even when you count Social Security in this country. It's not socialism to have fire departments. It's not socialism to have cops or courts or any of that shit. It's democratic taxation. How education is a right. It by no means is. It's not. I think it's a good society's responsibility, but it's not a right. How can it be? It's not a natural right. We have a right to it because we have paid for it. But that's because it's a service that we have asked for, which means it's a service that can be taken away. AI doctors will be quicker. This is true. A lot of people think it is. I agree, but that's because they don't think past the words. Civics are services our community, right? It's a civic duty. Yeah, I think that's closer to a civic duty, right? I think morally we as a society have a responsibility to make healthcare available, but that doesn't make it a right. That makes it a responsibility. Yeah, you can't force people to go to school, and therefore you can't guarantee education. You can't even make people absorb the education. Why do the rural areas not have Wi-Fi? Well, because Wi-Fi doesn't reach out to those places. You have to run cabling out there, and then you have to have distribution for the internet. And Wi-Fi is usually interior to buildings, not cellular service, which is what most people think of when they think of like rural Wi-Fi. They're really talking about cellular service. Both are expensive in their own way. How is the BBB going to pass? No. It's going to be shifted around a bunch. There'll be a lot of infighting. They might send a version back to the House, but the House will kill it unless it looks a lot like the first version. And if it looks like the first version, if they cut out a bunch of shit, they'll have to send it back up to the Senate. And there will be this ping pong. And Democrats will spend most of the summer like basically standing in the middle of the ping pong table, just wagging their paddle just to annoy the Republicans until such time as we have a CR. Which is not profitable, because this is, pardon me on the delay when we're talking about some of these issues. So if you want an answer to something, I'm sorry that most people try to stay away from pronouns and these things and be specific, but as far as medicine's not profitable or education's not profitable, there is absolutely a profit margin to these things. It can, right? It's in the Constitution, which thing is the providing. I would argue that providing for the common welfare is one of the primary things that you find in the Constitution, and I think in that would be the responsibility of the government through the gathering of taxes to create public education, right? But that doesn't make it a right. That makes it a responsibility of the government to provide something as a tax form for the betterment of the country, not because the Lord wills it. If you have to enforce education, it's not a right. Right. Yeah. If you have to make people go, right. Yeah. Cable link is what they need out there. Largely, fiber optic. The medical pill could have been inspired from the 1987 movie Inner Space with Dennis Quaid, Martin Short, and Meg Ryan, which is amazing, and she looks amazing in that, and it's a hilarious movie. I love Inner Space. I can't tell you. I've seen it. Hey, Big Jack. Cowboy, your hair looks different. I had it done. You see Outlaw Josie Vales? What a flick. Even Biden said healthcare is a right, not a privilege. I know that. I think this has been a languaging mistake on our side. Healthcare is a responsibility. It is the responsibility of the society to provide it for those who cannot have it themselves, and a responsibility of the people to maintain, who have the resources and the wherewithal to maintain the best health they possibly can themselves, so that they don't gum up the works and take a limited resource like doctors, nurses, and materials away from people who need it. I'm possessed. Right, there you go. Do I have a favorite comedy duo? That's a tough one. Favorite comedy duo. Back in the day, Patton Oswalt and Blanca Patch were very funny together. And then, let's see. Favorite comedy duo. Do Waylon Flowers and Madam count? I'm kidding. The Smothers Brothers? Yeah. I mean, not just because they were funny, but because they were morally terrific. My favorite food? Oof, that's tough. It shifts all the time. There's a few things. I love like a plain piece of meat, just salted, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, just grilled in butter, but either chicken or beef, and plain rice, white rice together. It's very simple, but I enjoy it. Like it's, it's one of those, like it's like a lot of good mouthfeel and flavor. Right? Bob and Dave, sometimes. Rowan and Martin were amazing. Yep. Wilder and Pryor. Yeah, they're more of a comedy acting duo, but sure. Do you believe in ghosts? I believe that there can be, in the world of physics, residual bioelectric energy left over by human consciousness that can operate almost on a loop with some sort of limited flexibility in it because of the density of it. And in certain environments, it could get stuck in, so that would qualify as a ghost, but I do not believe in them as remnants of someone stuck behind on our Earth plane. I think it's more like a piece of double exposure in film or something like that. Yes, Frangela definitely qualifies. Absolutely. Ren Stimpy. Still doing OMAD? Yes, for the most part. I mean, I do shift it around when my kid is with me for the summer and stuff because I'm just trying to get him to eat. But yeah. Shields and Yarnell, does that count as? Yeah, okay. House investigation of Stephen Miller could. No. How did you and your family have a great time this weekend? We did. We did indeed. We went to Universal and we rode. It's so funny. My mom is in her 80s, so we went on a couple of the rides. We went to Universal and we went to the on the Harry Potter ride, which is you tilt around and you're in a chair, but it's mainly screens and stuff. So it's really fun and it's like an immersion, like Star Tours or something like that. But she was like, I don't like those. That upset my stomach and it felt weird or whatever. But she wanted to go on the Jurassic Park ride, which is a water slide, and that's all physical. And there's a big drop at the end of it, and it was like a big sign that was like, you will get wet. And I was like, you naughty. But you do. No matter where you are on that ride, you are going to get soaked. And that's the point. Like, you know how if you do like Pirates of the Caribbean or some log rides or whatever, maybe if you're in the front, depending on who's in the thing, whether there's somebody heavy in the back of it or heavy in the front, it will splash different areas of it, but some people will manage to miss it and other people will get completely soaked because of the balance in it. Okay, they have designed this ride so that everybody just gets hit. They've made it that way. Your mom's beautiful. I agree. So we were all just soaked to the bone. It was hilarious. You said at Flappers you want more kids. Were you serious in December? Yeah, she knows. She just knows it's out of the question with her. So, well, God knows. If we all live to be 300, we'll see what happens. It helps if you're expecting it. Yes, expect it. If you ever go, and it's worthwhile, and I loved it. It was a really nice ride. It was terrific. And man, you inspired me to start OMAD. We got to watch your posture. Still eating healthier. That's fantastic. Hold on, it skipped past it. Feeling great. Thank you. Yeah, what's funny is one of the things, and this is maybe the irony of having a kid, is you feel funny going sit up straight. But it reminded me as well. It's like when you're in an exercise class and everybody's like, remember to breathe. And you're like, that sounds stupid. Who forgets to breathe? And you're like, everybody holds their breath when they're doing something, because, especially if it's impact, because we have millennia of evolution and biological experience, that if you're running, boxing, hitting, something like that, it's not a game. You're going to die. So if anything's about to hit you, you expel the breath in you and you wait for impact, because naturally that's the way to survive a kind of impact. Well, if you're doing impact aerobics or doing that kind of stuff, you're not going to breathe properly unless you tell yourself to. The same thing, by the way, is true when you're practicing a musical instrument. If you're practicing guitar or those kind of things, I noticed for a long time that I will often forget to breathe. I will be sitting and I'm like, I realized I haven't taken a deep breath. I'm certainly breathing, but I'm not taking deep breaths while I'm doing it. And what inspired me and reminded me to do that was listening to Steve Vai's "For the Love of God," which is one of my favorite pieces of music, period, but it's also one of my favorite if not my singular favorite, like guitar instrumental piece. And at the very beginning of that, you hear him take a deep breath before he does the solo in it, because he did it in one take. Yeah, the story is that he recorded the tracks, the background tracks, and then he meditated, he fasted for 3 days, and then when he was done, he did the solo in one take. And you just hear him go, and then he starts playing. And so that triggered in me that I've got to breathe deeper. It's an amazing song. I love it. Some people have trouble breathing. Yes, which means they should focus on more of it, and they should work on it, and they should improve their breathing because of that very same reason. My mom has, I think, some long COVID stuff left over that makes it hard for her as well. And you've got to take extra precautions. It's not, that's not a reason, well, I don't know, I have trouble breathing, so I'm going to do it less. It doesn't work that way. Yep. Are you going to watch the Black Sabbath farewell concert? It's an insane lineup. Yes. I don't know that I'll be able to see it live. Are there any instruments you want to learn? Yes, I could play piano by ear, but I want to learn genuinely to play piano well. I know you got to be an Ozzy fan. Of course I am. By the way, favorite Ozzy album? No Rest for the Wicked. Through and through, great album. Introduction of Zakk Wylde as his guitar player, fantastic. There are a lot of albums before that where they've got like 3 or 4 songs that are amazing, but as an album, top to tails, favorite. Yeah. There's an old saying I use, don't mother it. All right, that's interesting. I'm sorry to hear that, Greg. It's rough. It's a thing. I fight to get my breathing normal when I feel anxiety coming on. Well, again, don't fight it. Just do it. Because fighting it will create that anxiety. And also, it's usually indicative that you've been breathing in the top of your chest. That's why social media makes a lot of people anxious when they do it on their phone. Because, and I've showed you this guys before, when you see people standing there on their phone, they're doing like this. You're squashing your diaphragm, you're lowering your chest, and you're breathing in the upper part of your chest, which makes you anxious. Stand up straight, and if you're gonna doom scroll, don't do it sitting down, or go to your computer. If you're going to go through it, you're going to sit there and dick around and do it where you're sitting up properly. It will change how you react to things because you're not choking your oxygen off. And then with anxiety, it becomes a cycle because you're telling your body you have a reason to be anxious. You're not breathing. Walking the fine line between pagan and Christian, right? Can I call myself at the dentist tomorrow if you won't be there while I'm there? Easy there, Paul. Not currently. How can you ease yourself? I don't know, because I've never had a problem at the dentist. I fall asleep because I'm not worried about it. The noises are weird and all that kind of stuff, but ultimately, breathe into the injections. If they give you a shot of Novocaine or something, what you want to do is, as they're doing it, exhale as you feel them doing it, because it will distract some of the nerve endings and stuff in your mouth, and it will let your body know that you're still going to live through it, right? That's always what you have to remind yourself. The other thing is I will often pinch a finger, like distraction pain. Helps a lot. If it's really something gnarly, find a point on you, and I'll put my nail in the flesh just a little bit, right? And that will distract in the moment when it starts, and then let go, and then I always pass out. That's how I've done it my whole life. What do you think of the Dean Withers guy? I don't think much, I guess. The YouTuber guy, I mean, I don't see a lot of his stuff. It's fine. Good for him. Yeah, anybody that's on our side, I'm totally good with, as long as they're not the TYT crowd, because they're grifters and full of shit. 1,300 days left in his current term. Oh yeah, and he's not going to make it. You punch the dentist to distract yourself? How does like Steve Martin's Cruel Shoes, the routine that he reads, because he read it on one of his albums, but the book itself is amazing. I had Cruel Shoes when I was a kid, but I also Cruel Shoes was, let me see if I can do this without feathers. Bring up a copy of the book. Mm-hmm. It would be there's a black cover version of it. Okay, yeah. Well, here's the copy I had. Yeah. So, brink. Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, here, I'll go this. Let's look at Getting Even, because this was really the one. Okay, and scoot this over. I want to show you something real quick. Cruel Shoes was a great book. I got it when I was a kid. And the original copy I had of it was a black cover without a picture on it. Let's see if I can find the original that I had. Where is it? So, there, a little known thing. There was a period where Steve Martin was following the, where is it? Okay, that's not an image, that's a video of it. Damn it! I'll just show you the cover for a second. Where Steve Martin, they had this kind of generic cover for the book. This is the picture. This is the one people are selling, so like nobody's selling the black cover. But Steve Martin did Cruel Shoes, this book, because Woody Allen did Getting Even and Without Feathers. And they had both come through, if you look at their careers, Steve was right behind Woody Allen in kind of graduating from, Woody Allen was on Your Show of Shows, and Steve was on the Smothers Brothers, and they were both writer-performers. And Steve was really looking at Woody Allen as kind of like the bellwether on like how you build on stuff. And so Woody put out some books, Steve put out some books. Woody did stand-up, Steve did stand-up. They were both kind of in that general zone. But then from that, Woody Allen started doing goofy movies. He started doing, Love and Death and Bananas and those kind of movies. And Steve did The Man with Two Brains and The Jerk and that kind of stuff. And then Woody Allen moved into like Hannah and Her Sisters and the serious stuff. And Steve did Cruel Shoes. Did Pennies from Heaven, and he did Roxanne and those kind of stuff, which were more like serious comedy and that kind of things, and started doing more pathos. He was in Grand Canyon, those kind of things, and then Woody Allen, they did that documentary about him playing Wild Man Blues, where he's playing the clarinet again and going out on the road, and Steve started playing banjo again without any comedy at that point, and then that dovetailed into other stuff. There's been this thing where Steve has basically been chasing Woody Allen's career in his own way for a very long time. And there's nothing wrong with it, because I like what Steve did with it better. The Man with Two Left Feet? No, the Man with Two Brains. The Jerk is amazing. But when I was a kid, I had Getting Even, Without Feathers, and Cruel Shoes, and these are three of my favorite books. Never seen a Woody Allen movie? There's Annie Hall is the one worth seeing, really. L.A. Story, you could argue, is Steve's Annie Hall. Yeah. And never did care for Woody Allen movies. There's definite artistic value in them. They get a bit rudimentary. There was one of the things where he tried to evolve too quickly. His big thing was, Woody Allen talks about how he loved the he loved the Marx Brothers, but they never turned into anything. They never evolved. It just burned out. And that was his concern about kind of slapstick in the 70s. So he started trying to evolve past that. And then the French started to like him like they liked Jerry Lewis. And he's like, uh-oh, that's proof that I'm stuck. So he became very popular in France the same way Jerry Lewis did for the wacky stuff. And then he was like, I got to start making some art. So Hannah and Her Sisters, and there was a big, you could tell his more, dramedy kind of movies in the early 80s were about impressing the French audience. And they were shot like the French. There's one of the biggest ones is, I think it was in, was it Manhattan? let's see. See if I can. So, Stardust Memories. So in Stardust Memories, in the movie, there is a he uses a bunch of murals in the film to kind of play out where they are. So in one part of the relationship, he's in his house, and on the wall in his apartment is this giant mural of Groucho Marx in this flirty moment, right? And then his ex, who is insane and does all this stuff, she has a big mural of a woman in an insane asylum. But then later on in the relationship, the shot from like Vietnam of the guy being assassinated is a mural on the wall. It shifts. They don't mention it. It's the same wall as this. Later on in the movie, he's replaced this entire mural with that scene, with that, replaced that entire wall with the mural from Groucho Marx to the killing of this guy. This legit photo from the Vietnam War, right? Like, that's super fucking French. Like, that is the imaging and all this, like the shaping of it, Italian cinema, like him looping like back on himself, and in Stardust Memories, like his shadow, all this kind of stuff. All of it's very French and Italian. So, yeah, I love the banjo, as do I. Not deep enough for that. It isn't deep. It's shockingly on the nose. That was the part about like French and Italian cinema, is that it's seen as this kind of subtlety, but it isn't. It's a fucking rubber mallet. I thought it was just D'Arte with them projecting different scenes on the wall. It wasn't just paint. It wasn't a post effect. They did this whole thing. That's a mural. It's materially done in it. Yeah. It's for Italian. Also, Love and Death is very funny. Sleeper is probably my favorite, and you can't find it anywhere. Take the money and run. Yeah, so that was the initial part of like him coming off that, being a comedy writer, doing silly movies, right? And Steve Martin followed that. That's what he was like, I want to do that too. And they formed, allegedly, he and George Geip and Steve Martin, George Geip and Carl Reiner formed the Aspen Film Society because they were all wanted to make money so they could buy houses in Aspen, which I found brilliant. If that is indeed true, it might be apocryphal, but that's the story I had always heard inside the industry, that they did that. We'll do these things, we'll make a few movies, we'll make the money, and then what we'll do with the money is we're all going to buy houses in Aspen. You watched Sleeper way too young? Yeah. So I have, ever seen All of Me? Of course. Yeah. Never liked Woody, loved Steve. I mean, I liked all of them when I was a kid. My mom and my Aunt Susan used to take me to the movies when I was a kid, and I would see stuff that I was too young for, but I would listen to what they laughed at, and I would go, okay, I don't know why that's funny, but it's definitely funny. I trust their sense of humor. And so it would make me want to find out why it was funny. You know what I mean? Did that with all the Python films when they came out. I was far too young in most cases to get all of it, certainly the historical references. So I would ask. Yeah. Ronan is Sinatra's son. Yeah, probably. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, look at him. How'd you first meet Stephanie Miller? I called into her show to promote a stand-up show, and everybody was talking about the ACA at that time, and I'd never met... that wasn't the first time I met her, but that was the first time she was aware that she met me. The first time I met her was she had a TV show that they were doing a pilot for, and they were looking for musical accompaniment. And I came in to be her musical director, and I brought in my guitar and my keyboard, and I had created all these like MIDI tracks that I could play along with, so I could kind of one-man band it, because they didn't have enough people for a band, so they almost wanted somebody that could digitally DJ some stuff while playing guitar. And this is 1991. I was like 20, 21 years old. And I came in to do this, and they did it in this shit-ass warehouse where the auditions were going on. And I set up all my stuff, and the power like went out in the building and fried my keyboard. Cost that auditioning for Stephanie Miller's show cost me $3,000 that I did not have. And they didn't have insurance, and I didn't sue or get my shit replaced. Steph still owes me a keyboard. That's true. Yeah, 1990. Did you get to work with Aisha Tyler? I did, but no, we didn't do. I mean, I've worked around her. We've never worked together, because she came on to Talk Soup after I left, and then she did shows when I wasn't available on the Sexy Liberal tour. So we've been kind of like near misses for a very long time. She's very lovely, though. I met her a few times. She's a great person. Dark Helmet would agree. Yeah, $3,000, Aaron. Yeah, it was a Korg. Here, I'll show you. It was the big one too. It was the K1. Yeah. Yeah. The funny thing is, it's worth. You could get one for. Where is it? That's not. That's the one. The wooden one. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. Here, hold on. I had saved up for this fucking thing. God damn it. I was like, because it had a synth in it that you could program a lot of tracks in, and I was like, this is how I demoed most of my early recordings. My first songs that I wrote was on this thing, because it had you could do rhythm track in it, you could do stereo drums in it, it had a drum synth in it, and you could do a couple of different lines, mainly bass, piano, and strings. And so it had enough of a MIDI sequencer in it before you could do it on a computer that it would, I could write a song in it and then play guitar and sing. I could track this to 2 tracks on my Fostex and then do a guitar track and then, a live bass track, and then I could bounce it down to 2 tracks and then bounce it back, and then I could sing 2 lines of vocals over top of it, right? And this thing got fried. Yeah. It's very sad. And I never was able to afford to replace it. I just ate it. It sucked. That was one of those, like, one of the many, like, kneecap moments in the 90s. When I was like, okay, this is going to be a fucking great job. I'm going to be a musical director. I'll be funny. She can, I'll interact, be like the Paul Schaefer of this thing, and I can joke and do music at the same time, and then like, and like all my, that's like all my songwriting, everything just out the fucking window. Yeah. Imogene Cogency. Yeah, they're on. You could find them on eBay, but there was no eBay back then, obviously. And if I don't need one now. I can, you can do everything inside a computer. But for years, I was fucked. It took me. I was able to replace it with. I upgraded my computer at one point, and I was able to get an audio card for my my Mac 2 CI, and that would do 4 tracks of audio, but only 2 at a time. And so I could do synth like MIDI stuff inside it, and then I just got a controller, and I used that. But I was never a real piano player, so I was always, I would just tap drum stuff out on the keyboard. I got to take a break. I'm on a. I like comedy. Tucker Dale versus Evil. Who Alan Tudyk is. Alan's great. I'm wearing the this is some bullshit shirt today. He had a Korg Poly 800 MK2. I've got I have the little like old Korg analog that you can wire together. It's at my rehearsal studio. The next time I'm there, I'll show you guys. It still works. It's got it's a MS-20. Hold on, where is it? I'm gonna look one up so I could show you. Yeah, here it is. I've had one of these for a while. It's this guy. I found it at a like a garage sale. Some dude was like, I don't know how this thing even fucking works. And I was like, do you have any guitar cables? Because he was selling something else. And so I stuck the cables into these because this is where you patch it together to create the sounds. And I was like, it went woo, and I was like, all right, it works. So I'm like, I'll take it. This like the second key right here, this one right here is up. It's busted, so it's like stuck in an up position, and I haven't unscrewed the bottom of it and replaced it yet. I probably could, but yeah, this thing's pretty great. You literally analog wire the things together using patch cables and create sounds, from it. But it's meant to be hand played. It's got an oscillator in it, so you can kind of do like poor man's patterns in it, but mainly it's just to create, it's a computer. And I think this is like the new version of it. This is the like their retro version of it, as opposed to the original that I have, which is a blazing piece of shit. But it's amazing because it still works, so that's all right. And so sometimes what I'll use it for is to double guitar solos, real simple guitar solos that you can hand play the actual notes of what the solo were, because it gives it this really weird kind of fullness to the sound if you can match it tonally, note for note. And then you can also recreate what are like bass lines with it. And whatever you're playing on the bass guitar, you can thump out synth and it'll create kind of a depth to the sound you wouldn't get otherwise. Love your show, Hal, but I can't stop thinking about the Jerry Todd show. And are you doing that on purpose? I don't think so. I don't know that I'm doing it on purpose, but I look, I'm here to, I don't know. Is it because of all the shit I'm playing with? You're talking about Rick Moranis, right? From SCTV. Moog had a limited edition Teddy Lee mini Moog. Yeah, the Moogs are amazing. Drop the beat. I will. Don't make me. Remember for 25 months. Oh, thank you, Lori. All right, did I get to the... I am. Oh, man, I'm way over. As an AMA, not too bad. Yeah, hold on. Let me see if I can... SCTV. Yeah, let's see if I can show everybody what you were talking about. I can't play the thing because I'll end up... where is it? There you go. There you go. The Jerry Todd Show. This is from SCTV.
Could you play Stairway to Heaven too, Jerry?
Okay, we'll try and get that for you. Thank you for calling. Request lines are open anytime.
Yeah. I need a background set like that with just the Jerry Todd setup, and then I'll put a fake, like all my wires and stuff. I'll just lower the camera so you can see my keyboard. I also set up a thing, and I'll do this before I sign off. I've been working on something also, and I don't want to... yeah, here we go. Continue. And it should... Let's see if we open this up. Okay. Where would this be? All right, there we go. And now I have to route the audio so that I can hear it. So, first of all, to me. We'll add this. Okay, excellent. 1 second. And then I'll route it to you guys, which will be this one, I think. And then, there we go. That's an electric piano. Where's the Steinway? Let's open this. That's the MIDI is going through the Farrago right now, so where I have the music stuff. So I have to switch this over. That's hilarious. The I have to close that down or it won't be able to do it. Hold on. I'll just turn on the master volume on this. I have a keyboard sitting on the counter here that I use to write with, and so I can only actually play anything that actually where I can play with real rhythm and that kind of stuff if I'm using direct headphones, because there's a delay between the keyboard and this, so it's like I hit and then it takes a split second before I hear it, and it's very funny. But it does not mean that I can't at least fake it in terms of, let's see, add a patch list, and we'll try this, and we'll do what's in here, and we'll go to user patches, instrument, go to instrument, drum kit, Brooklyn. And this guy. Where'd you go? It's a delay on it, so it's very strange. Anyways, there you go. I can at least... ladies and gentlemen, thank you. And then, the problem is if I go to this...
Did you get out of yourself? Did you get out of yourself?
If I go in here...
Wait a minute, you don't tell us why you're here. I cut off a finger.
To pee with.
Mine or yours? Yours.
Damn. All right. So I'm working this through so it does music and or that, and right now it will only do both at the same time. So I'm trying to fix that part of it. It's fairly hilarious. But with this, now I feel like I'm doing a soundtrack for a Michael Crichton movie from 1984.
This is my sister. You can all have her. I hear she's very good. All right. Stop right there, and I'll bring back the sun.
Did you hear that? Yeah. It's a dick fur. What's a dick fur? To pee with.
Get out of yourself.
The overlap is the part that I find very funny. Anyways, I will let you guys go. Otherwise, I will be here playing with myself all night. Or maybe I will anyways. Who can say? All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. And thank you guys for your support and being here. Hope you had a good time. I know I did. So there you go. On Saturday's show, during show out, Crooks and Liars want to be on the July 12th. Natalie Z wants to be on, and Richard Chu. That's going to be amazing. I'm very excited. Thank you for the 12th in Chicago. And then Hody Bash that night. Very exciting. Love you guys. All right. Have a great night.
severe blow to the head.
Once it was
We're honored to have with us
reluctantly
today our
aroused. It was
amazing
hard to
Vice
get it
President
aroused,
Mike
and it
Pence
is
and
hard
his
to get it
wonderful
aroused.
wife Karen.
We got it aroused.
How, in the name of Zeus's butthole, did you get out of your cell?
Moon River. Once it
We're
was
honored to have with us
reluctantly
today our-
aroused. It was hard to get it aroused, and it is hard to get it aroused, but we got it aroused.
How?
Just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts, ma'am.
I chat with you and somehow death loses its sting. Shut up and never say anything again as long as you live.
Man, I'm tired of being right. Man, I'm tired of being right.
I never thought anybody could forget so much so fast without a severe blow to the head. Whew. Thank you, Doc. You ever serve time? Whew. Thank you, Doc.
Man, I'm tired of being... Man!